REI employees spoke this week in favor of a bill in Olympia that would require the Washington-based outdoor retailer to reserve 2 board seats for employees. The bill was requested by unionized REI workers. The company doesn't let employees sit on the board, and some workers say that goes against the company's cooperative spirit. Andrew Soderquist is an REI employee in Seattle. At a public hearing this week, he and other employees told lawmakers that the company has strayed from its roots.
REI used to take workers' experiences into account when making business decisions, and everyday people used to serve on the board. Now there are no meaningful avenues to share our perspectives or give feedback.
An REI spokesperson declined to comment on the bill. One corporate lawyer who testified against it said he was concerned about using legislation to target a specific company. The bill was sponsored by State Representative Cindy Ryu, a Democrat from Shoreline. She says it will likely be dead for the session if it isn't voted out of executive session next week.
He's fired. He's fired.
More federal employees are finding themselves out of a job this week as the Trump administration continues to make massive cuts to its workforce. The Federal Aviation Administration is the latest federal agency to face cuts, with potentially hundreds of workers being told over the weekend they were getting laid off. The firings impacted workers like safety personnel and maintenance crews, not air traffic controllers. We know they are experiencing a massive shortage. The union representing FAA workers warned the agency is already facing a staffing shortfall, and these removals could only worsen that. Despite the backlash, President Trump is forging ahead with his plan to drastically reduce the size of the federal government, even asking the Supreme Court to get involved in his effort. At least 70 lawsuits have been filed against the Trump administration so far. 10 of them are employment-related. President Trump has filed an emergency appeal with the Supreme Court over one of those cases, asking the justices to reverse a lower court ruling and allow him to fire the head of the Office of Government Ethics. CBS News Chief White House Correspondent Major Garrett joins me now here in the studio. Just a treat to have you here in New York. What is the general consensus in Washington that, yes, maybe there is waste that needs to be cut at the federal level, but is it being done too hastily? And what departments are people most concerned about?
So haste is a very serious question. It may not be a question for the country writ large yet, because they're thinking, well, President Trump said he was going to move in this direction, maybe not as specifically as the actions so far indicate, but he's moving in a direction they're generally supportive of. In Washington, though, most people know 2 things. 80% of the federal workforce does not live in D.C., Virginia, or Maryland. It's across the country. One of the largest places where you'll find federal employees, Lindsay, is Texas, California, Florida, New York. They're dispersed all over the country. Point 2, when you talk about the CDC, the NIH, FAA, NTSB, IRS, these are agencies that Americans either rely on or interact with on a customer service basis. And if any changes come to them that they're not pleased with, they will associate one with the other. So governance is an important thing, and governance intersects with politics when governance lets you down. I'm not predicting that, but the Elon Musk, Donald Trump orientation to this is no one will notice, except you'll save money and everything will be better and more efficient. Okay, that's a theory. If it falls down in practice, there will be a political consequence.
It's not like anybody looks forward to making that call to the government either, to the IRS, and who knows what that interaction may be now. That institution is facing cuts. We know that lawsuits against some of the Trump administration's firings laws were passed by Congress to protect those jobs. And so is the president asking the Supreme Court to make an exception for him, consider an exception for him, or essentially undo precedent?
To reevaluate. And this court has reevaluated things. It has reevaluated presidential immunity. It's reevaluated abortion rights in this country. It has reevaluated regulatory controls and powers within the federal government. It did so famously in a case called Chevron, which I won't go into, but it basically overturned or reoriented 40 years of understood regulatory power in Washington. So the president is betting it's at least worth asking this Supreme Court, constituted with 3 of his appointees, with a 6-3 conservative majority, if it will give him more latitude than previous Supreme Courts have given previous presidents about this matter. His assumption is it's worth trying and he may prevail. If he does, it would overturn precedent and give him even more executive authority.
Every president wants to surround themselves with their own people. replace people with people that they like. Are inspectors general or, for example, the head of the Office of Government Ethics immune from that? Are they supposed to be?
Congress passed a law about inspectors general. If you're going to fire an inspector general, you have to notify Congress 30 days in advance and explain why. President Trump did not do that in either instance. For any of the inspectors generals, he's summarily fired upon taking office. So he's in clear violation of the law. Is someone going to sue him over that? Is someone in Congress going to say?
Outcry.
Right. Is someone in Congress say, how dare you? We wrote this law. A previous president signed it. You're bound by this. The president at this moment in this area does not feel particularly bound, and he's willing to press in every direction for this reason. Well, many reasons, but this, I think, primary reason. He knows he's on a short timeline. Elon Musk can only work for the government for 6 months as a special government employee. And the president knows that if he doesn't move as rapidly as possible, break through as many of these barriers as possible, he won't get very far. If he leaves it to Congress, as previous presidents have, and work through the system, his assumption is it will all grind to a halt. So better to push things as hard as you can, see what you can accomplish.
I thought it had more to do politically with the midterms and making sure that Republicans.
I don't think this president is that concerned about the midterms. Republicans feel very emboldened right now politically. That might be a miscalculation. I think this is much more. It's a 6-month time limit on Elon Musk and those working for him. And the faster you push, the more likely you are to succeed at least some of your goals. I think that's the internal White House assumption.
Very interesting. So we are seeing the Trump administration trying to rehire some of the people that they laid off, particularly the National Nuclear Security Administration. What's your take there?
Well, the president realized very quickly that that's a bad call, that the optics of that are just terrible.
What are the optics?
Well, if they're in charge of monitoring the safety, workability of our nuclear weapons and stockpile, then they should be kept on, especially when the president is talking as expansively he is about how valuable those are to us, how they could be negotiating chips with Russia and China and possible arms reductions. You want that locked down and under very close supervision. It also suggests that in areas where, if in the future, it suddenly becomes clear to the president that politically he needs to prioritize some of these things, he may double back on some of the other firings. But in this one, he went, then he whoop. That was a hot stove moment. A rare hot stove moment.
Putting it in context that I can understand as someone who has burned herself many times. Major Garrett, thank you so much.
Sure.
Wait a minute. What's that sound I hear? What? I think it is chaos.
The federal government is closed today in observance of President's Day, but the Trump administration's effort to permanently scale back the size and scope of the federal workforce continues in full force. As Laura Barone-Lopez reports, President Trump's actions in his first few weeks also fueled demonstrations on this holiday weekend.
Where is Congress?
This President's Day,
This is what democracy looks like.
Protests across the country pushing back against President Trump's first month in office and what organizers say are his anti-democratic and illegal actions. They call it the No King's Day protest, even as the president suggested in social media posts this weekend that he is above the law, stating he who saves his country does not violate any law. Democratic Congressman Jamie Raskin responded on CBS.
The dominant objective of this administration is corruption and lawlessness.
Trump's declaration comes as his administration faces multiple restraining orders from judges, who've in some cases said his actions are likely unconstitutional. One of those cases could be the first test for the U.S. Supreme Court, after the president fired the head of a federal agency that protects whistleblowers. A lower court blocked him. But the Trump administration has asked the High Court to uphold the removal of Hampton Dellinger as head of the Office of Special Counsel. As the White House battles in the courts, billionaire Elon Musk's government takeover grows. Musk's team, the so-called Department of Government Efficiency, is seeking unlimited access to highly sensitive Internal Revenue Service systems that hold taxpayer data for millions of Americans. And over the holiday weekend, Musk's team fired tens of thousands of federal workers across the government. On Friday, the Department of Health and Human Services started terminating probationary employees. That's expected to total more than 5,000 jobs, including almost a tenth of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's workforce. Republican Senator Markwayne Mullin defended the firings on ABC.
We hate that anybody's losing their job, but at the same time, we know that the debt that we have in this country is not manageable.
Cutting 10% of the federal workforce could save about $800 billion over 10 years. But that's just a fraction of the $70 trillion that will be spent by the government if current levels hold. Terminations also swept across the Department of Veterans Affairs and the Food and Drug Administration. And in a purge of the Department of Energy that totaled nearly 2,000, hundreds of employees at the National Nuclear Security Administration were also fired. When the Trump administration realized that they had fired engineers who oversee the country's nuclear weapons stockpile, they scrambled to reverse course.
The firings for almost all of the nuclear security workers were rescinded. Of the more than 300 who were originally fired, fewer than 50 were dismissed as of today.
And Laura, the firings seem to be haphazard across these many government agencies. Do you have any more clarity based on your reporting as to how these layoffs have been carried out?
Yes, there's been a lot of chaos and confusion. One example, RFK Jr., the new Secretary of HHS, verbally rescinded the firings of more than 900 workers with the Indian Health Service. And that's very similar to the Nuclear Security Administration, as we mentioned. And I spoke to one of those fired workers who was in the field for the Nuclear Security Administration. They ended up getting their job back, but this worker said that they felt as though the firings were heartless and that they became a civil servant because they wanted to serve the country in this way, acknowledging that there's usually more money in the private sector. Across agencies, we should note, Jeff, that a lot of these workers got the exact same kind of termination letter saying that their performance was not adequate, which those workers, a lot of the workers that I spoke to said they felt wasn't fair because they had recent performance reviews that said that they were doing a good job.
You mentioned that you've been speaking to these fired federal workers. I know you spoke with an employee of the Department of Veterans Affairs who was let go. And I remember covering back in 2014 the wait time scandal where the VA had covered up how long veterans were waiting for care, and that had a large part to do with staffing issues. So what's the impact of these firings on the VA workforce?
Exactly, Jeff. I spoke to Andrew Lennox, a Marine infantry veteran who deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan, and he started his job just in December at the Veterans Affairs Medical Center in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And Andrew said that getting that job was like coming home.
I shared an elevator with an Army vet that saw my Marine keychain and slapped my back, called me a jarhead, and welcome home. And it felt right, and it felt good that I was gonna contribute back to my family, my tribe, my people.
Andrew worked on exactly those things you were talking about, Jeff, behind the scenes, on payroll, billing, managing schedules for doctors and nurses, making sure that he was cutting out that red tape so that way there were shorter wait times for patients, for them to see patients. And Andrew warned that the firings could have a big impact on the Veterans Affairs Corps mission.
It's going to result in worse care, or not the quality care that the veterans deserve. It's going to turn into burnout, fatigue, and just lack of quality care.
Andrew told me that he doesn't feel that he can afford to join any potential lawsuits that may come from this, but he questioned President Trump's support for veterans because of the number of veterans like himself who have been fired.
The Department of Health and Human Services, as I understand it, has also been affected by this, and you spoke with someone at the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. What did they have to say? I
spoke to Ariel Kane. She was laid off on Saturday over the weekend. A third of her team was fired. She worked with state Medicaid agencies to improve maternal health outcomes and lower costs, and she said that gutting programs like hers could end up affecting the lives of everyday Americans, potentially in a life-threatening way.
We are not in this work for a profit. The people that we serve are the most vulnerable, whether they're senior citizens, whether they're pregnant women like my program, or whether they're low-income people or people with disabilities. That's who we're motivated to serve, particularly in HHS. I worry, where do these people go? If they have to turn to the private market or, a private health plan to solve all these problems, and they're expensive patients to cover because they have their high needs, I worry about the impacts.
Ariel Kane said that the pregnant women who rely on Medicaid, that her program helped, part of that was just helping them with increasing access to midwives or helping rural hospitals who maybe need to grow their obstetrician units. And so it's also worth noting, Jeff, though, that the U.S., according to a report from Commonwealth Fund, has a higher maternal death rate than other Western countries, including France and Canada.
All right, so two final questions here, Laura. One, do you have a sense, based on your reporting, of when these layoffs, these firings will end? And then what agencies are set to be affected next?
So several hundred Federal Aviation Administration probationary employees are being laid off, according to the labor union that represents them. And this is less than 3 weeks after that midair collision at DCA, which killed 67 people. I'm also told by my sources that hundreds of FEMA workers are expected to be laid off as early as today, and that as well as Pentagon workers. We could see firings happening amongst the civilian workforce at the Pentagon as early as today and throughout the week. So this is not going to end with probationary employees. Sources across agencies tell me to expect firings far beyond these employees who maybe only worked for the federal government for less than a year, and that the people that Musk's team are going to target are workers who have anything to do with diversity programs or climate change programs.
Thanks for this really important reporting, Laura. You answered a lot of questions here for us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
New York, New York, New York.
New York City's subway system as we know it today was built during the first decades of the 20th century. But back then, black people were not allowed to work on board the trains. That changed on October 15th, 1935, when Jotham T. Coleman was hired as the first black conductor on the independent subway system, New York's only publicly owned transit at the time. Polly Desjarlais, a researcher at the New York Transit Museum, says he should be remembered as a civil rights icon.
So I'm focused on the stories that the museum tells. I sort of have a hand in a lot of different things.
Desjarlais discovered Coleman's story in the museum's century-old archives. She says before Coleman's appointment, black New Yorkers were relegated to lower-paying jobs in the subways, working as porters or cleaners.
It was the Depression, and having civil service rules was more equitable. Suddenly, jobs were opened up that were formerly closed to African Americans.
The Transport Workers Union was formed a year before Coleman became a conductor in 1934. I wanted to learn more about him, so I took a trip to the New York University Special Collections Room to find records from the union's founding president, Michael Quill. In one letter from Quill to a Harlem City Council member written at the end of the 1930s, Quill writes about the union's position in including non-white workers. The letter says the TW, quote, has not only advocated for equal rights and privileges for Negroes in industry, but has consistently batted for such equality within the limitations of the present state of our society.
You have to look at the trajectory.
Joshua Freeman is a labor historian and retired professor from CUNY.
In the 1930s, transit workers were poorly paid. It was a notoriously badly paid industry. And black workers in it were paid the worst, right? But once you get unionization, you begin a path towards benefits and salary increases that really blossoms after World War II.
He says although the new door opened, sentiment from other white transit workers to include more black people in the union wasn't exactly positive.
There was a lot of racism among white workers who didn't want to compete with jobs with black workers.
Yet the Board of Transportation kept moving forward. Records show that between 1939 and 1944, the number of black conductors in their workforce increased sixfold. Today, almost 50% of all bus and subway employees are black. Ramzi Khalife, WNYC News.
Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-yay. Wonderful feeling, wonderful day. Yes, sir. Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-yay. My, oh my, what a wonderful day.
I'm joined by my buddy in banter, Matt Bellany. Hello, Matt.
Hi there.
So the Trump administration has rattled its saber enough about DEI efforts. They have a sort of across-the-board hostility to what they call DEI, and they have shaken Disney to the point where they have backed off, and they have announced that they will go after Comcast for their DEI efforts. And I'm just going to read Comcast's corporate website and what they say about the DEI initiatives. We believe that a diverse, equitable, and inclusive company is a more innovative and successful one. Across our workforce, products, and content, we embrace diversity of background, perspective, culture, and experience. Together with our partners, we are working to fight injustice against any race, ethnicity, gender, or sexual identity, disability, or veteran status. That sounds quite praiseworthy to me, but apparently quite offensive to Brendan Carr and the Trump administration.
Well, they have leverage here. I mean, the FCC is an organ of the federal government that these media companies have to deal with and have to care about. And in this particular moment, when Comcast is in the middle of trying to spin off its cable networks, they have some leverage there because they can potentially cause some problems, not just at the FCC, but at the DOJ, the FTC. So this is an area. It's not just media companies. I mean, every company is now reevaluating its DEI principles. The CEOs are certainly talking less about this publicly. And I think it's interesting that Disney...
No, I'm just going to say, we think they'd be scared to open their mouths, but go on.
Well, no, they are scared. I'm saying they're advocating less for DEI policies. And Disney did this on their own. It was not some federal action. I mean, they're seeing the environment here and they're trying to be more compliant. I mean, PBS said that they're going to close their DEI office because of these federal executive orders that Trump has admitted. Now, obviously, PBS gets federal funding, and that's a slightly different situation. But Disney, when they say that they are changing the disclaimers on some of their old movies to make it, less of an apology for some of the things that they have done in the past, when they say that they are changing the language of their policies on DEI to be more about improving their talent pool rather than specifically talking about the diversity and inclusion initiatives, that is significant because that trickles down throughout the industry. And as we know, there has been a major push in Hollywood over the past decade to diversify. Agents have called me, talent agents, saying, listen, open directing assignments, open acting gigs, they specifically say we want diverse. Is that going to change now? And the answer is we don't know.
I think it's already changed because this is what happens when you create this chill in the environment and you scare people. I mean, they've also notified other places, including NPR, we're going to look at what you have been doing and threaten the funding. So this is like an across the board thing. And the use of this DEI, we all can remember that Donald Trump, when the plane crashed and it was a terrible tragedy, and before they had even recovered the bodies, he was blaming DEI. That's where we're heading in Hollywood.
Maybe. I think that a lot of it right now is just fear of what this administration will do. It's not like Disney repudiated what it had done. I think there's just an acknowledgement here that the pendulum has shifted, and these companies, if they don't at least make noises about it, they're going to be politicized. And that is the absolute worst thing for these companies right now, is to become a political punching bag of the administration, especially when they have deals they want to do that require the involvement of the government.
Yeah, Disney has been through it, right? They had this problem when Bob Chapek was in charge, where they tried to push back against what was called the Don't Say Gay laws in Florida. And then they became a huge political punching bag for the right. And I think it was a very negative thing. Disney, like all the major legacy studios, was going through hard times. And it became like the message was, don't go to Disneyland, boycott Disney. And clearly they don't want to go through that again. It's ironic because, as you know, Bob Iger in the past has been somewhat outspoken politically. I mean, he has pushed back against the ban on Muslims, and he has certainly backed his employees in terms of gay rights. I think this is more dire. I mean, it's not the pendulum swung back. The pendulum swung very far to the right.
Yeah, it's interesting because Disney has a number of open pieces of litigation involving these issues. Our colleague Eric Gardner has written about this, where, the Gina Carano case, where she claims that she was fired from The Mandalorian for expressing her right-wing views. There are a couple of cases involving actors who were fired for refusing to take a COVID vaccine during the pandemic. And Disney is now litigating these cases and defending its policies of that era. And we'll see whether perhaps some of these judges and juries hold Disney accountable for these decisions, or whether they're able to stand up for some of their policies that are perceived now as being more left-leaning.
Or whether they just fold, they can do that.
Well, they folded against Donald Trump, but if you're Bob Iger, we've talked about this, that is a business decision. You decide that paying Donald Trump $15 million to settle his defamation claim is a small tax to pay if it keeps your business running and non-politicized.
But let me just say that you've touched on the real issue here, which is the pro-business Republican Party is telling these businesses that if they believe diversity is good for their business, too bad. You're not allowed to do that. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
That's Matt Bellany, founding partner at Puck, and I'm Kim Masters, his colleague at Puck.
Now we have one story of thousands of federal workers who've lost their jobs. She's going by Rose. She's 26, and she was hired by the Department of Energy in December.
We're letting Rose use her middle name because she still holds out hope she could work for the federal government again someday and worries she'll be retaliated against for talking about her experience. It all started late last Thursday.
I was winding down for the day, and then all of a sudden I get a notification ping that I hear on my desk.
A coworker said she needed to check her email right away. She opened it up and found a letter from the Department of Energy telling her she'd been terminated.
DOE finds that your further employment would not be in the public interest.
Rose was shocked, and she had plenty of company. Even longtime workers seemed confused.
People who have been in the federal government 30, 40 years, we have never seen this before. This is unprecedented.
And she didn't have much time. Her email was about to be shut off.
I am now scrambling, trying to forward these attachments to myself. I'm also trying to reach out to folks and say my goodbyes and just say thank you for everything. I've had such a lovely experience here.
By 11:30 that night, she'd been locked out of her work email. Rose had to let her family know she'd been fired, including her dad, a military veteran living in Florida.
He's a very big Trump supporter.
In fact, when she'd been hired, she'd had a conversation with him about her new federal job. She joked with him,
"If I lose this job, I'm going to pack a toothbrush and put all of my things in a little hobo satchel, and I'm knocking on your door." Little did I know that door would be destroyed later in the Florida hurricanes.
That's right. Her dad's house was destroyed in Hurricanes Helene and Milton, which struck Florida in the fall. For Rose, it's a particularly bitter irony because her job was to try and help develop alternative energy sources.
The work I was doing and supporting was directly relating to climate change, which is why these natural disasters are on the rise because of climate change.
But Rose doesn't seem angry at her dad. In fact, if anything, she feels closer to him.
I remember I was sitting at a dinner with my dad recently, and he was talking about it feels like we are forgotten, because as soon as the hurricane in Florida happened, then it was North Carolina, then it was the California wildfires. And there's a relationship between all of this. Federal employees feel forgotten. My dad, who voted for Trump, feels forgotten. Across the board, everybody just feels this sense of loss and just feels like I'm not being heard.
This moment in America feels so much bigger than her and her father, but she doesn't have a lot of time to reflect. She's got to find work.
Bills aren't going to stop because I lost my job. Car payments aren't going to stop because I lost my job. Student loans aren't going to stop because I lost my job.
While searching for a new one, she's thought about parking herself on the sidewalk outside the Energy Department on the off chance they might take her back. Jeff Brumfield, NPR News.
They're hoping they take Rose back. Do what? Come on now. If this is a white woman, that was NPR, so I don't know if that was a white woman or not, but that is a white woman. Come on now. They will figure out a way for the Rose to spring forth from concrete again. Neutralizing Workplace Racism moved back to Thursday. I had been thinking about this for a minute because neutralizing people have a good memory, or been listening to the cows for a minute. Neutralizing Workplace Racism originally was the final 30 minutes of the compensatory call-in. We did that for a number of years. And said this is important enough, should be its own program. I will say it took some nudging from listeners folks who might not even, listen to the cows at this point. But it did take some nudging because I was not sure if, people would really be excited and enthusiastic about participating and discussing a full program that is nothing but racism in the workplace. But we have been here now for 9 years, since 2016, and the first was its own program. It was on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We moved it briefly, see if perhaps we could have, if it was on Friday evening, if we'd have people who are maybe in New Zealand, Nigeria, Australia, different time zones, where they might be able to dial in because it's so late, I guess you would say, or early, depending on your perspective, Friday, for those people, that it might be a little easier for them to participate live or not. We have had international participation in workplace racism, but it's not on a regular enough basis to warrant the program hanging out on Friday. So, moving it back to Thursday, and then we'll have the Katherine Massey Book Club on Friday. All of the programs are still at their normal time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific. So not too wacky at the worst. It would just be, oh man, I tuned in for Dr. Angelo and what? DEI, what is going on? It would be that sort of thing. Or if you tune in tomorrow thinking the book club, workplace racism, missed it, day early, already in the archives, and then you'll know for the following week we'll be here next Thursday for Neutralizing Workplace Racism, Friday for the Katherine Massey Book Club. Now, today's date, February 22025, so I have been told. The worthless Negro, Gus T. Renegade, the number to dial, not for spectators, on a Thursday, 605 313 5164, the code 564943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. That number again, 605 313 5164. The code 564943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. The email, untiljustice@gmail.com. untiljustice@gmail.com. Let us know if you have suggestions, thoughts. You can use the email if you are concerned about people being able to identify your voice, cadence, where you work. That way you can be anonymous. And if you have a situation you would like us to use logic, help you kind of figure it out, we can do that. Or if you have suggestions on what you have heard, problems that other people might have, let us know. untiljustice@gmail.com. As for the audio that we heard at the beginning, they started off here in Seattle. We heard the report, possible bill to require REI, and they do the expensive, like hiking gear, hiking boots, tents, that sort of thing. All the nature trails for white people out in these parts. But they're talking about a possible Washington state bill to require board seats at REI for some of the workers. Now, I don't go to REI that frequently. I think I did stop in there within the last 6 to 8 months. I think I have visited the Seattle REI and even made a purchase. How about that? Any hoodles. I don't remember them having tons of people classified as black. I mean, they might have a whole lot of Lakeishas who work there, especially during Christmas or, whatever the case may be. Maybe, but I could see it being a lot of white people who work at and shop at REI for these precious board seats so they can go and let folks know and all that. Like I said, this is like really expensive camping gear, hiking gear, that sort of thing that you'll see white people in the Seattle area wearing, where they go to get their gripes about. I seriously doubt that that bill is going to pass, but whatever. That's just our tidbit for local labor news. With all of the DEI and layoffs and everything else, the first chunk of layoffs where they said they laid some of these people off and then said, oh, wait a minute, some of these folks are defense workers and they might be responsible for some of the nuclear defenses, so we bring some of them back. And the other people, even in fact, what they had said previously was, man, we got some of these people. They said, well, I'm going to resign. And then they came and said, no, you can't resign. You got to come back. I said, well, dang, I let go. And then now you're in that awkward situation where you have resigned to your boss, but then they got to bring you back. So they know that you wanted to leave, slacker, quitter that you are. They were trying to get a replacement for you, but then they couldn't even do that. So all the confusion, all of that. And then you heard that they even used that term specifically for the label of the third report that we heard. It was chaos and confusion as Trump's mass firings impact the basic functions of government. They were talking about all the agencies. It's not going to just be Washington, D.C., which some of the reports last week had said. I'd said Atlanta. This was even before I'd heard the report about the CDC. They said places like Atlanta, New York City, Texas, lots of federal employees. Seattle would even be on that list too, I think. When they said Atlanta, I had already said this, but once they emphasized Atlanta and some of these other places, and even with the airlines and the Federal Aviation Administration, they said we're not letting go of air traffic controllers. They've been talking about how they've had a shortage of those for like decades, forever now. We are letting go other people who do like ground support and maintenance and that sort of thing. That's another one where I said, ooh, I bet that's going to be a lot of black people. I know you don't let black people fly the planes. We don't want no DEI pilots or nothing like that. I got that. But once they said they didn't let any air traffic controllers go. Got that. I seriously doubt that they got a whole lot of Lakeishas and Leroys doing air traffic controlling either, or got that. But they said like support staff, people who load the planes, people who clean the planes up and such, get the gas in and all that ground support, people who get the luggage to the plane and all. So we got to trim the fat, too many people, waste, all that. Man, anybody who flies a lot, you don't even have to fly a lot. Just if you happen to drive by the airport, that sort of thing, ride by the airport, and really wherever you happen to be. Gus T ain't no globetrotter by any stretch, but just my little piddling West Coast sojourn through California. Man, from SeaTac, LAX, and SFO in San Francisco, all three. I don't know about no Negro pilots. I don't know how much, maybe they got bad DEI pilot programs on the West Coast. But ground support? Oh, yeah. We can get Leroy out there. Get that little cart to get your luggage on the plane and all that old nonsense. Be out there in the cold and rain. They give you a little orange stick. I don't know what they call it, but a little orange flare stick to guide the plane in and all that. Make sure it doesn't flip upside down. They should have had more of them in Toronto, right? All that. They get black people for that. They don't have no problem. We believe in diversity to get you out there in that cold. You make a whole lot less money, by the way. Get you out there in the cold and rain to help load the plane, guide it in, clean the bugs and such off the window, those type of jobs. I could see post office, that's another one. They've been saying so much about the post office. Lots of these jobs, because of the system of white supremacy, white people don't want to hire black people. That for a lot of decades, really. Mr. Fuller, man, Fuller worked for the Bureau of Engraving and Printing. He was a federal man. If Fuller was here, if this was rewind, I don't know when he retired. Let's rewind like 40 years. This was like the 90s, something like that, 80s, 90s. Fuller might be worried. Ooh, can't talk this way. I don't know. They might fire me. He would be telling us, I don't know. They talking about trimming the fat. Which is about what he would say anyway. You could be fired in the next 5. They send you one of them tacky letters like they talked about their old form letter where they don't even spell your name right. Neillie. Greetings, Neely. We appreciate your service and hard work. It's no longer needed. We don't think it'll be in the best interests of the Bureau of Engraving and Printing. Thank you so much, Neely. Spelled it like I said, it I-E. It does not get any better than tacky. And that's what they said. They said they had people who had worked there for like 30, 40 years, been working for the federal employer, and they get some old tacky letter after 30 years. Man, you should be at retirement age, right? You get a party and a watch, all that, balloons. Nah. You've been inefficient all that time. Anyway, wasting my man, if anything, that is a reminder. A lot of those reports are audio, so I don't know if these are white people, non-white people. I don't do the guessing with voices because that's not reliable. But, man, yeah, I suspect some of these probably were people classified as white Rose at the end. I don't know. But, man, if you needed a reminder, even if you got a nice, cushy job, government job, all that, benefits, all that good stuff, good dental plan, 401k and everything, hey, it could be gone in the next 5 minutes and having nothing to do at all with your competence, your skill, motivation, education, none of that. You wore the wrong shoes, none of that. System of white supremacy racism. We just made a decision, and that's that. You got 5 minutes to pack your cardboard box up. That's another thing, too, because you heard that and all that with the chaos, confusion. You heard that from some, I don't know if they were white or non-white, but you heard that from some of the employees, and they were about to be terminated. They said, oh, my God. I got to go. The email going to be shut down. Oh, no, email this shut down. All of that. I would not have any sensitive, pertinent information on your workplace machine or your workplace email account. Anything means anything that is important, imperative. Certainly you don't have any of your children's birthday photos or nothing like that. Certainly. But intellectual property, an idea that you've been working on, anything. You do not have that. Really, every day that you walk away from that office, you should be thinking, I could be fired. I might never get access to this computer again, because it's not your machine. It's not your machine. It's not your office. It's not your desk. It's not even your job, as President Trump just showed us. It's my job. They're all my job. I'll take them back if I want to. It definitely ain't your job. So, every time you leave, anything, any pertinent data, what have you, already got it. If they kill my account or hack my account or take my computer, take their computer, whatever. Doesn't matter, because it's not mine. So that's the way that I use it. I don't have anything saved there, and certainly that email account as well. I don't know who else is using it, who else has access to it, so it's nothing sensitive that I'm really going to need, for all time's sake. No, I'm going to already have that, and whatever. If they cancel my email account today, no problem. But wow, that would for sure be something. If you are a federal employee, would love to hear, what have people been talking about? What have white people been talking about in your job? Is it the same thing with all this confusion where you can't even figure out, are we going to have a job tomorrow? Can I resign? I've been wanting to get a new job. Can I resign? No, you can't resign. Well, you can't even get clarity about that. What's the, severance package? What has it been? I would love to know, just for counter-racist purposes. But this for sure would be one. Talk to your offspring. Now, I know this is not the fun one where you can come home and tell them, Mom got the big promotion and, oh my goodness, we're going to move and blah, blah, blah. And I got a $20,000 bonus in my salary and all that. I know that's not as cool as, oh man, I don't know if I'm going to have a job tomorrow. Oh man. That is not cool at all, but this is the system of white supremacy racism. And so when folks say, I don't know how to talk with my children about racism, I don't know what to say. Yes, you do. talk to them about your job and what white people do to you. If you don't know if you got a job or not, that right there. White people, you can do everything white people say. Go to school, study, learn, stay away from Leroy. Don't read nothing about no racism. Don't say nothing about no racism. Be on time. You get up and go to work every day and don't have your pants hanging off your behind, and you could still be thrown out in the street like some worthless crackhead where they don't even give you an... They said from some of the people who could have been white, where they said, dang, I just had a performance evaluation. I got sparkling reviews, and I got a cardboard box and told to beat it. That could easily be you, especially if you had your name attached to anything D-E-I. Beat it, beat it, beat it. Anyway, if we got any folks who were working with anything DEI related, because they said, oh yeah, we are on the hunt. Anything even sounds DEI related, you can go on and get that cardboard box immediately. You already know. You're counting down the minutes, buddy. Counting down the minutes. I guess you can let us know that as well. If you got any jobs or any programs, anything affiliated to that. If we saw any folks, we're almost at the cusp, at the end of Negro History Month. If you are aware they had some sort of Black History Month program or what have you. I think we had our caller victim in New Jersey who said that they were trying to do the healthcare program, help out non-white victims and all that. Said they had tried to do it for the black females. They did it before, and then this time, I don't know. It seems kind of affirmative action-ish. We're not going to. They had agreed to do it, and then they reneged on it. If we got any of those reneges where they were going to do a twerk program or, peanut butter and watermelon program for Black History Month, and then whoa, we had the watermelon ready, but it's got that kind of DEI feel. Maybe we'll save the watermelon. And they took it all back. Let us know. And that's why I said I would not participate in any of that. Hopefully we got through the month unscathed. You didn't have to get any tacky racist jokes about any of that, but I would not volunteer for any of those projects. I would not want to be on. I would not recommend or I got an idea we can do a cool festivity for Black History Month. None of that. None of that. Again, I have not. What I've seen most frequently is, even before this year, what I've seen most frequently is the renege. They talk about Gus got the gotcha question, and then white people do the gotcha. Sure, Leroy, you want to do a ceremony? We're going to get batch Popeye's fried chicken. It's going to be amazing. We're going to come in. We're going to do Kendrick Lamar. I watched the Super Bowl. I'm going to come in and I've been working on my crip walk, man. Rena ain't got nothing on me. And then you get all excited and ready for it. We get the date and everything. We're going to do it on the 21st, and they'll come in today. So, oh, Leroy, we talked to HR, and I don't know. It got right rowdy with Drake and them. I don't think we're going to be able to do it. I'm so sorry, Leroy. I had worked on my crip walk and everything. Look at it. But we just can't. The legal team said we might get in trouble, and we'll try it next year. And they don't try it next year. That sort of thing. That's what I've seen consistently. Or it just becomes some nonsense for the non-white people. And when I say nonsense, the white people get upset about it. What? Doing this, that sort of thing. I've never seen any black people, non-white people, get a raise or promotion, even a standing ovation. I'm not even saying anything major. Just, wow, you did a great job, Leroy. I learned so much. I've never even seen that, really. Just go to work to make that money. Learn as much as you can. See if you can get to the day without being DEI'd out of your job. Let's see. Anything else? Think I got all on the report. The train conductor in New York City, that is a whole different conversation, because that is like, they have whole books about that in terms of willfully denying black people opportunities of employment. And then, like I said, federal employees, one of the few might be, you can go work on the train. that's not a federal job, but for years, like being a porter, A. Philip Randolph, like, oh my God, like that's about the only job. You work at the post office, federal job, or you go be a mortician, you work at the barber shop, or you can be a porter. Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters. A. Philip. Matter of fact, the whole idea to go do the March on Washington, that was A. Philip Randolph. Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters. Black people encounter racism, trying to get better employment and work conditions for black people who were working on the train, like Minister Malcolm X in his autobiography. But yeah, that's a whole different, chat about that later, unless we have some folks who work on the train now, which I would seriously doubt. Let's see. Anything else? We'll leave that. Come back. See the number again, 605-313-5164. The code 564-943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. The email untiljustice@gmail.com. Certainly not forgotten. When we were here last week on Friday, we had young academic dialed in courageously to share the impact, trying to go out and be a teacher, help little Leroy, little Lakeisha learn, have a next generation of great students, black students. They go out and replace white supremacy with justice and all the tacky racism, especially from white women educators who blocked his path and, made it untenable for him to be an educator. And he told us about, all the details of this over years. And he called in last week and was just talking about how it's impacted his mental health, and then hearing all of the dastardly ways that these racist white teachers have continued, and some of them even being fired, some of them who were responsible for making his teaching trek impossible. They went on and were just shiftless and tacky and racist and have been terminated from their jobs, and how that impacts the children who were trying to learn. But if we have any folks who, upon hearing that in the archives maybe or listening live, any suggestions for young academic? I know we are big time saying, hey, if you can find a therapist in your area, because he was talking about being depressed and upset about all this, which is totally reasonable. Any reasonable person, I think, would be furious about all of that. That a lot of times they will have either free or what they'll call sliding scale fees for therapy. It would just maybe be a matter of seeing if you can finding it, locating it, and making sure it's in a reasonable distance. And then, do they have someone non-white in your region, preferably black, where you can talk about racism, white supremacy, because that is at the root of all of this. We talked about that last week, and other folks gave their opinion. If we have any other suggestions on that, ways that other people have handled that, maybe educators who've dealt with all of that stress, with the chaos, racist confusion, trying to be a black educator, that would be grand too. Let's see, folks who dialed in with a hand up, if you have commentary to share. Let's see. Victim ×3 with us. If you have commentary, line should be open.
May I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you for taking my call. Greetings to all the COWS listeners and callers. I believe last week I gave some advice about helping out with mental health. Talking to people, in your personal life is also an idea I thought of as you reminded me of it. But I'll move on to the clips. I believe the first clip was about the federal government reducing their employees. I currently work with foster care, and one of my procedures is trying to figure out how much funding a foster child should receive and where that particular funding will be coming from. It currently stands that we try to keep the federal government paying the most, as far as like 50 to 60% of that, and then a portion of that will be paid by the state, and then the last portion will be paid by the county. If these types of, changes that Trump is putting in and Elon put it in, if it continues to go where they're removing a lot of federal funding from different things like foster care, it will definitely affect other avenues like state and local jobs. Because if it does affect that, then it will put a lot more to, I guess, carry a portion of the funding, and then the county will carry the other half. And if that's the case, then I can definitely see layoffs happening all over the place. I believe you had a clip about, and also I'm driving right now, so excuse me if I'm not all the way lucid, but you had a clip about Disneyland, I believe, or the Disney company. Somehow they're not seeing, I guess, the market value that they used to have. I find that hard to believe, considering that there's Disneyland out here in LA, and from what I've seen, it's packed every weekend. Disneyland and California Adventures, their secondary park. I also have family members who have went ahead and purchased, I guess, season passes, and these season passes are not cheap in no sense, and they only give out a certain number of these passes every year. One person said they paid about $1,800 for a pass, and that's a lot of money right there. Not to mention how much, I guess, merchandise that Disney sells every year, because their branding is, worldwide. So just from what I've seen out here, I don't know how much they are losing, but I could be wrong. You also brought up, I guess, it was a white woman, I believe, who was affected by some of the cutbacks when it came to the funding for federal jobs or whatever. I don't sympathize with her at all if it's a white woman. She said her dad had a house in Florida. Well, Florida tends to be a retirement state. A lot of people go there. A lot of old white people go there. So I'm not sure. I'm erring on the side of this person is a white person. So I don't sympathize with that person at all. And also considering that, I believe in the clip that she said her father voted for Trump. This is what you voted for. I mean, was there any, and again, there was no confusion about what he was going to do. I think he said he's going to have a lot of cutbacks, stuff like that. I'm not sure if they thought that they would be exempt, but, what is it, that old saying, chickens coming home to roost, I believe. I guess it's it for me right now, Gus, and thank you for taking my call, and I'll mute my line.
Somebody did say white people don't get fired, they get transferred. So I am sure if Rose was a white person, again, that wasn't video, so I don't know. But if Rose was a white person, hey, I'm sure she will be okay. She and her dad, I'm sure they will both be all right. Anywho's, he said, because that was Rose. She said, well, hey, wait a minute now. Victim. Dad ain't me. They didn't say I voted for Trump. They said Pa voted for Trump and then lost his house in the hurricane. Now, I might have voted for Kamala Harris. I might have supported my black sister, or, whatever. I might not have even voted. I could have been one of them shiftless people who didn't even go out and do no early ballot or nothing. Maybe. Same thing I said before. White people don't get fired. They get transferred. Matter of fact, even a white person saying all that, she gonna blame it on Dad, him voting for Trump and all that. Should have done a better job pressuring your dad. Man, you can't be losing our job and all this craziness. You live in the hurricane area. We got to do better than that, man. Climate change is a big deal. Anyway, I will say they included all the LGBTQ within the DEI, right? And climate change as well. So it's not like racism. It's all this other stuff as well that we have a problem with. It's not racism. It's a lot of these so-called, because they said with Disney World, they said some of their so-called liberal policies, it wasn't we're going to hire a lot of black people. We're going to make sure that we don't have no racism. We're not doing no zippity-doo-dah and Brer Rabbit and none of the nonsense like that. No. That's not it. It was, better get that vaccine. And they said some presumably white employees, now I don't know, again, that was audio, I didn't get to see him, but some presumably white employees said that they had so-called right-wing views and they got in trouble in the workplace. Now, I don't know what's so-called left wing about that, but that the second case they mentioned with a white person, I think, had a case saying that they were white wing and they were penalized or punished or whatever in the workplace. I suspect they are going to win millions of dollars on that case. I've told y'all, these white people say that they're victims of racism or discrimination or however they word it on the job. Whew. Jackpot. The vaccine case, that's probably 2 jackpots now, because they, everything has changed about that, and they reversed a lot of those vaccine mandate. President Trump even, I think he reinstated, because they had fired some federal employees around the vaccine. I suspect that was white defiance there too. And they got rehired, and they got back pay and all that, reinstated all their benefits and goodies that they lost out on for the time that they've been off the job or what have you. So a lot of that, I don't even think it's per se that they had some sort of policies or stance against racism at Disney. A lot of it just seems like, you messed over good white people who didn't want to get a vaccine, or, messed over white people like her dad who were talking about MAGA, whatever, while they were on the job at Disneyland. Incidentally now, he said that he had new people down there in god-awful California, Southern Cal no less, where they paid all that money to get an annual pass at Disneyland, because he said he is suspicious about them hurting for money at Disneyland, because it seems like it's always packed and all that. I know I saw the advertisements when I was down there, Los Angeles. The annual pass, if you get the upper tier, it is what he said, about $1,800, and you can't even go like as many times as you want to. That annual pass, you only get to go 11 times per year, unless this information is bogus. But that does seem about right. It's not like you turn around and go, 2 or 3 times per week in the summer. Or I guess you could, but you can only do that for about a month or so, and then you have to wait till next year for pay. And you get discounts, I guess, on the food. You get a 15% discount on dining. You get 20% discount on merchandise. So I guess if you are really about some Goofy and Back to the Future and all the rest of it, hey, $1,800. Woo! And they sell a limited number. It's not even like they max out. So I mean, hey, I don't know if they have a line or what to access these $1,800 passes, but wow, time and energy. I would hope non-white, especially if you live in California, like, take that $1,800 air purifier, really good HEPA filter, mask to wear when you are out in public, invest in fireproofing your residence, the water quality. Like, it's a whole lot of things that I can think of for Southern California that we would have to invest in before we get to Mickey and Goofy. Anywhoodles, I guess maybe go visit before all that is burned down or earthquaked away or whatever, because California has been wilding. So if you're really about all that, go do it now before it, is too late. Much obliged. Victim. Number again, 605-313-5164. The code 564943 pound. The email, untiljustice@gmail.com. untiljustice@gmail.com. Hopefully we did not get folks too loopy with the day change for the broadcast. Try to let folks know in advance so it wouldn't be super confusing. See if folks have other email and or other commentary to share. Get my email pulled up. Let's see here. Get in one email, then I'll double check, see if other folks have commentary to share. Let's see. But let me wet my whistle, as they say, and then I'll read email number one. Love it. Love it. Let's get it. Hi, Gus and Cal's audience. Number one, to young academic, I understand what you are going through, as I have spent a lot of money and time recovering from the trauma of racism in the workplace. The C.O.W.S Workplace Racism and other broadcasts help me retain some level of sanity, and I hope the programs are beneficial to you too. I'll be sending Gus a separate email with resources which have worked for me and I hope are useful to you too. Number two, Right Wing Ashley is still offloading her work and the quality has not improved. I asked her to draft a letter which included legal advice provided by the company lawyers. It's taken her weeks to do because I've sent it back to her several times to correct. I made some edits last week as the letter needed to go out and sent the draft back to her for review. Something told me to get her to quadruple check that she included all the legal advice and that it's accurate, but I wasn't expecting anything to be wrong. 3. She confessed that she'd missed 2 bits of advice. This was days after apologizing for her recent poor performance and letting me know she's in a much better headspace and things will improve. What? What does that mean? What does that mean? Like, what? What does, I don't even know what that means. Like, what? Did she have a concussion? Was she on narcotics? Or what does that mean? What was wrong with her head previously while she was making all these errors and not making the correct edits? And quadruple. Most people do not tolerate me messing something up where okay, Gus, we're going to do check number 1, go over there, get B, and boom, 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 knock that one out, get that last one, and we'd be all done. They have to come back and say, wait a minute. Look here, Gus, I told you to check number 1 and then B, and you still didn't get that. Come on, man, let's get it together. And then they come back the third time. Now, look here, now we're going to start having some name calls. Like, look, Coon, I done told you. I said get B. I told you last time. How many times I got to blah, blah, blah? 4 times? 4? Come on. You would have to break that down. I mean, if something is that wrong with your head, do you, need time off? Look, seriously, did you get a concussion? Are you using drugs? Have you been hanging out with that white chick doing drugs or sniffing? Anybody really saying that to me in a workplace where you keep messing stuff and you're wasting you see all that time and energy she's had to waste correcting over and the same thing, that kills me having to just do the same thing. Man, how many times, and I'm writing it down, you could have just looked back at the email that I sent you. Headspace. Come on. She says, things will improve. Yeah. I asked her to forward the legal advice emails from the lawyers as there's no way I can trust her work. More errors. 4. This has got me thinking about not helping white people. I've been supportive as expected because I'm managing her. However, when Right Wing Ashley first joined the team, the non-white black female who no longer works for the organization had told her to watch out for me, in quotes, and other lies. Right Wing Ashley did the right thing and told Shauna, who promptly reprimanded the non-white black female for her unprofessionalism. I've never spoken to Right Wing Ashley about it, but I'm grateful that she did speak up because lots of lies have been told about me. For that reason, I've been more tolerant of her than perhaps I should be because she's taking the piss. I love that phrase. That is so funny. That is a rough one. Man, and one for the workplace, it's really impossible to have a policy of not helping white people because, they'll fire you, right? If they say to go and retrain Right Wing Ashley, what do they say? Right Wing Ashley, she just needs a little hand holding. That's what they'll say. She just needs a little hand holding. That's all. Or they will sympathize with her. Now, whatever that means, my headspace, it's been my husband, we going through a divorce and he cheated on me with the secretary and child has got in my drug supply and
all the way, oh, they're there. Oh, we can, come on, my child is on drugs too. Oh, it's awful. And they'll come and sympathize, like, yeah, she's just been a tough headspace, and we're going to hang in and just support her, and we got her back, you know, we right there with her, so we'll help her on this assignment and blah, 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 and that's why she's made a few. See, they'll do that sort of thing. So I feel you. Like, you can have a white person, you can have a racist who can be helpful, nice, offer constructive information. Be like, man, I'm not saying that this person isn't racist, but, you know, I at least want to be, well, you might even think, reciprocate. Help me to not get fired. Help to uncover a lie from my black sister. But, hey, at the end of the day, being classified as white, I got many opportunities to practice racism. Many opportunities to practice racism. And many niggers to mistreat. So maybe one or two times, hey, we got this nigger woman that's just lying on this other nigger woman. That's the other thing, too. She was going to snitch to a black person on a black person who was lying on a third black person. So it's lots of opportunities for mistreatment. And again, in the workplace, it can be very difficult to have a I'm not going to help white people policy, because a lot of times basically what you get paid for is to help other racists for, 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week, whatever it is. That's basically the job. Let's see. 4. I already read that one. 5. Shauna, Zoe, and I had agreed to put in place a work plan and learning and development plan for Right Wing Ashley, and that she would be told to focus on her work rather than all the extra projects she has taken on. Okay, remember she was doing the off days, like little side projects. She'd be the one to hop like, oh, we're going to do a twerk contest for Black History Month and that sort of thing. Like, oh, I'll sign up. I'll lead that. Like, whoa. Stop. You don't have any free time. Let's just do your duties and then leave the extra stuff to people who are already, they are knocking down their normally assigned duties. Yes? Let's see. Apparently, Right Wing Ashley was in the process of arranging a placement with one of the partner agencies. The quid pro quo arrangement was that someone from their company would also get the opportunity to do a placement in our team. She wanted Zoe to devise a work plan for this person. Zoe put a stop to the arrangement. Right Wing Ashley also had the idea of developing an early career program for new starters. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. That is kind of wild. If you have someone who is kind of shiftless, that's correct. Am I being accurate? Shiftless, right? You have to tell them 4 times. That's what they would call me. I'm just, if this was me, not Right Wing, if this was me, and you have to come and double check what you just said. I can't trust old Gus to do no work, man. You have to go and look over what you doing, Gus. You get that done. You got to watch him now, because he'll mess it up. And if that was me, they would say he's kind of shiftless, right? You generally do not allow, like, the shiftless employee or the employee that you don't trust. You generally do not allow them to, like, spearhead and lead new projects and, come up with all kind. We're going to have a new program and exchange and all that with partner and all. What? Why is it you can't even do your basic responsibilities? We have to double check. Excuse me. We have to quadruple check everything you do. Why would you be the person in charge of any? How did that even start? Like, who is the person that looked at this and okayed, yes, you can be the one to head up this, new program or whatever? What? You ain't head up nothing. Like, you're on the remedial team. Go sit down and find someone to hold your hand. Look at how you got hired to begin. Oh, you're friends with H. Oh, okay. Yeah. Let's see. What it started. 6. I told Shauna that Right Wing Ashley has been appointed at the wrong level, which I think she felt awkward about, as she and work-avoidant Wanda were responsible. See, that's what I said. How did you get this job? You don't even see quality. We have so much of that. We can say just over and over. How did you get this job? I mean, I know you're white, but I mean, dang, they didn't have no qualified racists that could do. How did you get this job? What is going on here? Let's see. I'm not surprised by work avoidant Wanda, formerly known as incompetent Carrie, as she wouldn't want anyone too experienced given how useless she is. I've been on interview panels with Shauna. I don't believe she would have appointed someone this inexperienced if they were black. Say it about 50 times. Now, I do think that's important that she said the people that did seem like were responsible for hiring this are white, but the people that did the hiring are also work avoidant Wanda. She used to be incompetent Carrie. People who can do no work also, who also seem to be same thing. How did you get this job? Is everybody, how many people here are related to, homies with, have been to the residence of someone in HR or executive level? And just look at all the white hands go up like, what? I see why y'all say this is a family. Like, yeah, everybody here, okay. Everybody here is related to somebody or homies with somebody except me, the dark people, me and Shauna. And we hate each other. We're the only ones that's not related to or in the wedding with the white people here. Like, come on. To have white people that are so lame and incompetent and they get on the hiring team, make sure you don't hire anybody gonna make us look bad. The foolishness, especially don't hire no competent niggers. What now? That's kind of what you got all over the world. I'm not saying white people are stupid or anything like that. I'm just saying, system of white supremacy, hey, we can hire all of our cousins and homies. They don't have to be qualified. They don't have to know how to type. We just get them in, as long as we got one or two race soldiers who are competent, kind of keep things so it doesn't go off the track, and we can have some niggers, which is offload, and make them do all the work, or make them quadruple check all the work and don't pay them anything. That'll work too. Matter of fact, young academic, a part of what he told us previously, he said on the current job he's working on, not in the school, he said it was a different shiftless, work avoidant white man had been stealing credit for his work for a year. 365 days. I don't even know if he was coming to work or not. I think he might have been doing like the hybrid work from home or whatever, but he was just going on the computer and changing, putting his name, whatever, to make that. Me and young academic, we collaborated on this task. Yeah, and got away with that, what I said, for 365 days. That's what I'm saying. Like, you have all kinds of this in the system of white supremacy racism. So that would be another one. You talk to your children about that too. And then, man, figuring out ways, like, I am going to do everything that I can. I wouldn't call it not helping white people, but I'm going to do everything that I can. They end up pairing me up with some incompetent white person, some shiftless, no count, work avoiding Wanda. She thought, that's the nigger I'm going to leech off of. I'm going to do everything in my power to develop a counter-racist code to resist that. So I do not become the one who is responsible. White person is not going to work, and they come and steal all of my work, or somehow figure out a system where I'm responsible. Me and the other black person, we divvy up half and half of their work. Like, oh, no. Nope. Like, point that out. Document. If you have to be double checked, because I think with young academic, this white fellow was smart with a computer apparently, so that's how they were carrying out, going in and changing and making edits to make it seem like they worked on this, whatever program or what have you together. Be mindful about that. Be thinking about that going in, because wow, like, it's totally different in I helped this person, they first got here and kind of showed them the ropes, as they say, tacky metaphor, showing them how to do a job or how this program works or whatever the case may be, and someone who is totally not going to do any of their workplace duties, and they're just going to shuck everything out. Yeah, they told me to fill out these 15 pages. I'm not going to do that. Here you go. Leroy, fill that. There you go, man. Yeah, or what she said, the white person allegedly does the work. They give it over to some black person. They're supposed to make corrections, and then they end up having to do all the major, because they've done poor quality work, shiftless work, poor effort in anything, and they have to go in and do all this major cleanup where they might as well have done the whole report themselves. The black person, it's not even my work. This is some race soldier's task that they didn't even want to do. Be mindful about that, document that, and be working on codes. If anybody has figured out things that work well at minimizing that, so it's, hey, you're able to document and point out to other white people that are in charge that this is happening. Should this be happening? Am I supposed to be doing every white person's work in the office? How's that going to work? Then you're going to overload me and I won't be able to get anything done. We'll all be in trouble. Much obliged for sharing. If folks have, because it's so widespread, if we have any folks start working on a code, when they start trying to, white people start coming and dumping all their work off onto you that they don't want to do, or pretending that they don't know how to do it correctly, or they need additional training or whatever, you figured out a code, neutralize that. No, you need to go do your own work. They trained me. They didn't say, go over here and just dump all your work off on Paul and he'll do everything for you. Paul got your back. They didn't say that. They train you so that you can do your own work. That's what you want for everybody. Let us know if you have figured that one out, or at least, some steps that are helpful. The number again, 605-313-5164. The code 564-943#. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. Number again, 605-313-5164. The code 564-943#. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. Again, Neutralizing Workplace Racism on a Thursday. We'll have the book club back for Friday, normal time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Hopefully within a week or so, we'll be adjusted. I did ask, right? I talked about this last week, switching everything back, and didn't really hear any gripes or reports that it would be a problem for anyone switching the days back. For the most part, people said it's not too much of a big deal, and even some folks said it would make things a little more convenient for them. So, whoopee. Let's see. Folks are check for folks who have thoughts on the line. See if our other emails folks have for workplace racism. Let's see. Let's see. Wait a minute. Email number 2. Okay. So this is suggestions for what I just said. Young academic, he dialed in last week, Friday, talking about being under great mental strain as a result of all of the racism he experienced from white women and attempting to be a black educator, right? And then what I just mentioned, race soldier on the job right now, new job, where he had been stealing his work and all the, same dastardly techniques. So email number 2, person had suggestions for young academics, some of the things that we talked about last week. Says, for the long-term sub dealing with rage and can't afford therapy, I would recommend checking with local churches. Some of them have mental health ministries. Just an example, West Angeles Church in Los Angeles, a black church, has mental health professionals available to speak with. Now, I would not have thought of that at all, but hey, that is spectacular. Maybe check. You can look a lot of, at this point, you could go and just look at their website maybe and see what resources they offer. Then one, you could see if this is a black congregation, right? And then see if they have black counselors, right? They might be more likely for that to be the case. And then you can just call and ask in advance if, it's okay to talk about race. You can even give them a sample of, what some of the problems have been. I'm a black educator. Racism has been a real issue, and me trying to teach, and what's happened on the job, and just see if that's the sort of thing that you can bring up where they're not going to say, oh, we don't talk about racism here, we're all children of God, sort of thing. Because if that's what they're going to say, they can tell you that in advance. But if you can bring it up and that's something that they address, with black people, and even if you're not necessarily a member of the church, hey, that for sure would be one. I would not have thought of that at all. So check local churches. That might be one resource in your area. Continues. For the woman supervising the white woman who continues to make the same mistakes, I suggest creating a job aid in the form of a checklist and make it a requirement for her to show evidence that she's checked those items before submitting her work. Now, this is the young lady who just wrote the email that I read, right-wing Ashley and all the rest, where she's quadruple checking things and what have you. Now, I don't know if she has a checklist or what have you. I think when she was doing the notes or what have you, it seemed like she had some sort of written reference. Maybe not a checklist, or I don't know, maybe she was a checklist, but she had some sort of written reference that you are supposed to do A, B, C, whatever it is. Like she had specific notes about things that she was supposed to do, and then she just didn't do it. So I don't know. This might sometimes race soldiers, particularly when they know they have a black person whose job it is to clean up after them, and that's the way that I meant to say it. That is a metaphor, but that's the way I meant to say it. Where they can go out and even deliberately mess up all kinds of stuff. Whatever, to just mess up, ruin this, break this, blah, blah, blah. And they will have their little slave just right behind them with a broom and a vacuum and a mop and, just cleaning and sweeping, blah, 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 and just fixing everything. Whatever, man. You can give me the checklist. That's why I said she may have given, old racist Ashley a checklist. That might have been the case. And Ashley said, whatever. Nigga, whatever. Checklist, schmecklist. I'm not doing all that. Whatever. Here it is. I'm done. I'm finished. And give it right. I mean, if you have to quadruple check something, I don't know how many of you all out there, maybe, because that sounds like something like with children. Like you have to tell them 5, 10 times, like a young child too, like 7-year-old, something like that, where you have to tell them 10, 20, did you turn the light on in the bathroom? How many times do I have to tell you to turn the light on in the bathroom, Junior? What is wrong with you? Why get that sort of thing? Like, why do I have to tell you this 4 times? Like, what in the world? That's, in my view, that's one of the ways that white people practice racism, white supremacy, especially on the job. Just kind of a willful slothfulness, laziness. It is very deliberate. This is not a, if I just had a list right there, I could look and, okay, boop, check that up, boop, okay, did it. No, that's not, I don't think that's what this is at all. This is, that nigga clean it up. That nigga clean it up. They whatever. I'm not going to listen to no nigger anyway. Fuller talked about that for years. A whole lot of folks have observed that. Like, you don't tell me what to do anyway. Most white people in a workplace setting are kind of resentful having some black person that's supposed to pretend like they're in authority or in charge or whatever anyway. So I'm for sure not coming in here and working hard and do all that for some nigger boss to take credit, or even some black person to act like they told me and trained me so well. That is very common. And I think right-wing Ashley, if she has a black person who wrote us, that young lady is kind of checking over her work and, quadruple checking over her work. And then I think they all have a black female supervisor too. Like, whatever. I'm not. That's the white perspective. I'm not going to come in here and, break my back and bust my hump to make you niggas look good. I'm not going to do that at all. Like, whatever. And if anything, I'm going to waste all you niggers' time. Y'all not going to get no shine in this job because you're going to be spending full time correcting me. Correcting me things that I don't know how to do. Wink, wink. That type of thing. That's what I think. I could be totally wrong, but we've heard this one and seen this one a lot. Shiftless white people in the workplace that just can't get right. Anyway, much obliged, but I do think that is a great recommendation. Folks can let us know if you try that one in your jurisdiction. Especially you live somewhere where they have a significant population of black people. Check the church. Just go to the website. You don't even have to go to the service if you don't want to. Check the website. You can give them a call, drop them an email, and see if they have any sort of therapy sessions that they offer. If it's free, same thing, sliding scale maybe. Check it out. If it's free, at least you can go try it once and see. And like I said, ask over the phone. you can address racism in the therapy. That's not like taboo or anything. You can address, and that's something that they're willing to engage with and see how that's impacted you during the session and see what they say. And it should be a black person, right? Black church, yeah. Love it. Much obliged. The email again, untiljustice@gmail.com. untiljustice@gmail.com. If you have your own situation, or you have ideas, recommendations based on what we have shared thus far. Number 605-313-5164. The code 564943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. Folks are spectating and such, not sure they had any DEI impact, or if we don't have federal employees who work or folks who haven't been impacted by all that to drop us an email and such. But we'll give folks like 5 minutes to dial in if they have commentary to share on the phone line, star 61, if they have thoughts, observations on their workplace. Same thing I've said consistently now. If you are a victim of white supremacy, you're not being mistreated on the job, you don't have any white people stealing credit for your labor or blocking you from getting promotions and raises and such, let us know how on earth did you accomplish this. As much detail as you can possibly share, because we for sure, one, we want to keep our job, make sure we don't get DEI'd, and then two, we want all the raises, we want all the bonuses, everything constructive that we can get in the workplace. So if you figured out how to get there and not be falsely accused and written up and terminated and all the rest of it, hook us up with a few of those secrets. We'll see if we can replicate what you have done. Let's see, make sure I didn't miss any of our emails. Oh man, we had additional for the counseling. So for young academic or anybody else, if you're looking for counseling in your jurisdiction, I suspect this might be U.S. I have to double check for sure, but I suspect this might be U.S. Non-white people looking for counseling. There are lots of individuals, non-white people who have a master's in social work, MSW. They can offer career advice, and there are plenty of black people who hold an MSW degree. Oh, I forgot last week, we had a different person. They were looking for career counseling. So this is different, not therapy per se, which is also important. Great. But this was specifically, we had a victim of racism. They were looking to change careers via their email last week. And they were talking about getting a career counselor to kind of just get some advice. What is the ever-changing job market looking like? And then for their skill set, what are careers that might be a good possibility for switching over at this point? So for career counseling, Masters in Social Work, there are plenty of black people who have this degree. You can visit the website. So it's www.NAB, as in boy, SW.org. National Association of Black Social Workers. Address again, www.NAB, as in boy, SW, national.org, National Association of Black Social Workers. You can go there and see if you can find some folks, and it might be the same type of thing where you can get someone who they can maybe give a low rate, maybe even a free service, just to give you an idea of what they can offer along your journey to improve or meet your career goals. See if you can find someone maybe in your area. Maybe they can do a Zoom type conference type thing. Look over your resume and work experience, kind of chat, see what you are looking to do, what are you interested in, and then, like I said, the updates. What are the next 5 years? What are we talking about in terms of technological developments and how they're going to change certain career fields and what have you? Check it out. I'll post the link on our social media pages. so you can check, see if it's anything constructive. That might be the sort of thing to pass around. Like I said, if you have children, especially younger children, 10, even younger than that, this is what you signed up for. The whole, what do you want to be when you grow up? Wow. I mean, that question now, wow. I mean, just wow. We will have to do some serious thinking. Now, is that job even going to exist? If you have someone at 6 saying, I want to be a truck driver. Maybe pick something else. Doesn't look like we're going to be doing too much driving, I don't know, 20 years from now. Pick something else. What type of job you think we're going to have in 20 years? I don't know. That's what you signed up for. If you are a parent, like, oh man, have lots of fun with it. And I mean, it should be, hey, still learning. We'll go to the site, see what the black social work, what did they think? What would they tell someone who is 10? What would they say to someone who is 35 and got a 10-year-old son? I'm looking to switch careers. What would they say? All of that, massive. Even if you're going to have children, you should think about that. Now, are we going to be willing to talk honestly about the racism we've experienced on our job with our children, with each other? And then, are we going to be enthusiastic, overjoyed, talk to our child about racism, and then talk to them about their career choices in a system of white supremacy racism? If the answer is no, or I don't really want it, let's, before we get to the bedroom, that's a big part of your parenting duties. And like I said, we don't need no hemming and hawing. Well, how do we talk to them about racism, and I don't know what to say, and I ain't read no Ta-Nehisi Coates? Tell them what white people have done to you on your job. You are an expert on that like nobody's business. Ta-Nehisi Coates doesn't know nothing about what white people did to you on your job. That's what you can talk to them about, for starters. Let's see. Caller at the courthouse in Florida should be with us as well. Caller in Florida.
Yes, sir. May I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Greetings to Gus, the host, the listeners and callers. About the victim, young academic. I agree with what was mentioned when I was listening last week. I believe like something was mentioned about walking. I think walking is constructive, and things involving nature. Like I like listening to birds and things like that, and just sitting outdoors and just breathing in and out and meditating and things like that. And hobbies like art or painting and drawing, I think, in my opinion, is constructive. That's what I had in mind. And Gus, I have some updates I like to share. The first one is they still are talking about building that new courthouse, and they haven't really gotten started on it yet. So I wanted to mention that first. And I know I mentioned about drinking water. I want to put that out there too. Like, drinking water makes me feel good. I guess I'll just mention that. Like I had to speak out about how this water, because they have a water machine in the break room, in one of the break rooms. So they replaced like 5 water machines. So I said to the white woman, I said, this water don't even taste right. I don't know if they have to do something with this machine. So I ended up going to another one downstairs to drink that water. And another person, and this somebody in one of the in the cliques, she said that she didn't like how it tasted either. So I guess she goes to the water fountain. Another white person, I think does that tap water thing. So I wanted to talk about that, about the water, because it's been more people drinking water. I've been trying to get some more black people to drink water, and and it's gotten to the point now to where it's like every time they see me come around, they say, "Hey, I got this. I drunk this bottle. No, I drunk 2 cups of water. I'm going to get me one now." So I try to do that on the job when I know it's water around. I think that's been constructive. My next one is the white woman who works in the area where I'm at. She practiced racism and I forgot to jot this one down, so a victim of racism reminded me that this happened, so I could jot it down in the journal, where a black female comes into the room where it's this segregated area, 3 black people and 1 white person. So this black person enters the room and says, "Oh, good morning, y'all." Y'all, like you all, especially here in the southern states. So she reacted to how I guess the white person didn't respond. So one of the other victims in the room that's black, she said, "Oh, you didn't hear her talking to you or something." And this white woman said, "Oh, she's not speaking to me. She wasn't talking to me. She was talking to y'all." Okay. So I think it was some interesting racist code in that, because sometimes I'll say y'all, morning everybody or something like that, or morning y'all or something, or y'all have a good day or whatever, whatever the case may be. So this victim noted that this white woman did this. So that was interesting. And this same white woman, she, for the last 2 weeks up until the day, she has not been speaking to the 2 black females in the room. And she'll willfully walk right by them. And then she'll say morning to me, and I say morning to her. And if they're going to lunch break or whatever, the black female will say, "Well, okay, I'm going to lunch, such and such." She'll say my name. White person will say, "Well, I'm going to lunch." So they're having this feud or whatever. And nothing really bad came from it, except for I did hear her speaking to this white woman I call the pale predator, because she always is trying, in some way, trying to seek out some black male sexually. Okay, so I'm like, wait a minute, she is something else. So she's coming down to the break room. I'm sitting in there, and I'm eating my lunch, and she's saying to this other white woman that, "Oh, I'm just so sick and tired and such, and if I don't want you to speak to me, you should be able to tell that by the look I have on my face and everything, and you know what you did, and I don't like fake people," and all this. And I was like, okay, now I can conclude who she was speaking about. It was a black female, way older than her, and she was just, I guess, venting, gossiping, and unjust networking about this black person. Really, it's 2, but I think she was in particular speaking about they gave her the lead worker title in the area, in the segregated area. So, and she said, well, the other white woman was giving her advice oh no, don't go in there saying that. Just cut that part out. And if she says this in response, just go to HR. So I thought that was racist. One white person saying this to another. I mean, I do agree with a sense of it where she told the other white woman, oh, I just only want to converse about something that's work related. I don't want to talk about anything else unless it's work related. Yeah, that, you know, I do that myself. But she, I think, was practicing racism because it was aimed at two black people. I don't know if something was done or whatnot. I'm not sure what was going on. But she apparently was very angry, and she used this metaphor, oh, if they keep messing with me, I'm going to let the whole cat out of the bag. That's the expression or the metaphor that she used, and she walked out. All right. I have like two more I want to share. Speaking of these metaphors, there was a white woman upstairs. I mean, she has the Confederate flag on the back of her van or whatever, or whatnot. And she talks about voting for a Yankee, I guess talking about Trump or whatever. So I hear her say that she was on the elevator with a guy, she said a white guy that's from Canada. She asked me if I remember who the guy was. I said, yeah, I remember who he was. And she was speaking about somebody who complains a lot. And whoever this person was, a female. And she said to the guy, yeah, this person, she just tends to complain so much. If you hung her with a new rope, she would still complain. So she said the white guy responded like, why would you want to hang her with a new rope? And she says to him, oh, you just don't get it, do you? That's what her response was. So she used a rope, lynching analogy or whatnot. So I said, I know I'm going to write this one down. And I just went on about my business. My last one is the chaos coordinator. Well, she doesn't call herself that anymore, but she is very tacky in how she presents these emails that she sends out to the entire staff. So she has the part, well, first she has on the email where she's saying that I guess this past Monday was Random Acts of Kindness Day. And she says that they're going to be playing kindness bingo where people can engage in acts of kindness and they can come back to administration and get a treat for being sweet or whatever, or get a Publix gift card. It seems like a lot of the times it's a lot to do with food or something. So they're talking about gift cards and everything. If you happen to do the most acts of kindness. And I'm like, you're supposed to be here being professional and courteous, I guess, all the time. Like not doing that to get no candy or whatever they were giving out. And to end it, at the end of the email now, she has, because they have it structured the way they have the milestones, how long people have been there. And for her own milestone, where she's been there 6 years, she has her name set there. And the department she's working for, it says Department of No, like Department of NO, 2 exclamation points. So I'm like, why would you? A black person pointed it out to me, all right? A younger black person. I'm like, what in the heck is this? Department of No, in quotes. And everybody else is in the civil department, finance and accounting, probate, all the correct areas. But she's the HR person, and she described that is the department she works for. So it's really, I'm not sure what she meant by that. But that's all I have to share right now. Gus, thanks for allowing me to speak.
That is clowning. That is clowning. Like, I do not have any qualifications for human resources or much of anything else. I don't even think I got that A+ in Broom, PhD in Broom that Dr. Welsing talked about. But I would think the HR person, I mean, maybe the person who does the sweeping, the custodial staff, maybe they can just be a barrel full of laughs, you know. Everything, you know, I'm the Department of Mop, you know. that old Ned he is like, you know, you can deal. The HR people? Like, what the, like, but again now, hey, Dr. Angelo, she gonna tell us tomorrow, you believe people when they tell you who they are. Now, she said from jump, they had to come, I guess a more refined white person had to come in and say, I don't think it's a good look for the HR staff to be saying they are the chaos coordinator. Just saying. To get her to stop doing that. Like, believe people when they tell you who they are. That would even be another one that I would point at. Like, how did you get this job? Whose cousin are you? Why do we want the chaos coordinator to lead HR? Even that, when he said, like, she's the Department of No, like, I guess if you think HR, oh, no, we can't do that. Nope, we're going to get in trouble. Nope, that DI, nope, we going to get it, nope, can't do that. Nope. Lawyers will definitely get us with it, if, you know. But, I mean, you the head one cutting the fool. You leading the chaos. I mean, whew, man, that's another one. Now, when they get, we're a black person, you could have Al Sharpton holding that job, and he sends it, I'm the chaos coordinator, good old Rev Now, and send out there this Department of No. And he, instead of an explanation part, he has a big black hand, like the stop sign, no. Now, if we could do that, and or have his mom, or the black female who's been working there 20 years and she can't get a promotion, if one of those people could do all that, wow, we have made some progress on racism. I ain't seen nothing of the kind. Let's see. He said they're going to build a new courthouse. Part of me was thinking the construction and all that, like that's a lot of jobs and employment and boost the local economy and all that. But they don't really have black construction companies, I suspect, in Florida, so they're not going to be bidding to do this job. So, you know, whatever. I would keep tabs, though, if that becomes a spot where you can move, because I think he's talked about a number of white people where that just becomes, we don't get fired, I can just go work at the other courthouse. Whoopee. The clique members get on my nerves, or, you know, they hire one too many dark faces over here, and, you know, I'm done. I move, 10 yards down the road and started to keep all my benefits and everything, too. Let's see. Drinking more water. Love it, especially in the workplace. Like, man, especially really for so many reasons in the workplace. Now, he said, black self-respect. I try to see if I can inspire other black people to drink water. I would even say, watch out. You can get in trouble for that one. We have heard from other victims of racism who have said they were not talking about no Neely Fuller Jr. They didn't talk about no counter racism. They didn't talk about no replacing white supremacy with justice. They were just, I'm trying to lose a few pounds. I don't want to, have to be on that Ozempic. What do you think? You eat a little bit more spinach? And he said the white people, whoa. We did not hire no Lakeisha come in here and talk about no spinach. Let's break this up. Break it up. And they did. And we heard last week, victim in New Jersey, he said, I just tried to get the health fair. Maybe we could have talked about water and eat a little bit of kale. That sounds kind of DEI-ish. I don't, we're not going to talk about no kale here. Not with no black people. So, generally, that should be okay to drink more water in the workplace, should be celebrated, but they did put our black brothers' water on the floor. So, But that is spectacular. Motivate other black people, stay hydrated, especially in warmer environments like Florida where they're known to have a teaspoon of heat. grand. Drink that. We said they see him coming. They start bragging. Like, that is something to brag about. I drank a liter. Well, I drank a half gallon. Well, I drank a gallon. Love it. Love it. Love it. Drink more. Why no sodas. We don't need no sugary, because they do a lot of that in the workplace. They do the Starbucks runs. They go get all those sugary caffeinated beverages, or they just have the soda machine and all that right there and all that. Drink water. Hopefully they can get quality water, because like I remember when he said they were going to put the water dispenser there, and again, this is South Florida, all the like California, Texas, they should have water there for the employees. But I mean, dang, why do we have to get the old Flint water? People go get it like, what? I didn't say we had to get Evian and, the most expensive thing ever. I'm just saying, like, dang, what? Y'all can't get filtered water? Like, you can go to Costco. Y'all to the courthouse. Y'all can get a business Costco account and get them to deliver water. They'll bring it right there. It is not super expensive, and it'll taste pretty good. Man, probably, especially they look up. All these niggers in here get a nah. We're not gonna do all that. Nah. He said they were sitting down. There's 3 black people. There's 1 white person. The white woman comes in. Morning, y'all. White woman keeps it zip. Says, hey, Peggy, did you? She spoke to everybody. You ignored it. She was speaking to y'all. She wasn't speaking to me. My God. Wow. I mean, I'm gonna get up now. Thank y'all. I'm finished. Yeah. I'm done with my break. Like, man, that's even one of those, like, I think white people, they are not ignorant about this racism thing. I mean, and I'm a white person. You don't lump me in with these niggers. You don't just speak to all of that. Morning, y'all. You call me. I am a white woman. You speak to them niggers like they just give them a general nigger hello. You call me out separately. Morning, Peggy. How are you? And then rest of y'all. You don't think I'm forgot what it means to be a white woman, or you didn't know to begin with? No. We did not. But wow, that would be one to write down. Y'all. Maybe it means more than I thought. I would have thought that's, she says, it's, more than one person here, and I don't have time to call out everybody's name, just everybody. Morning, y'all. No, maybe that's not what it means. Whew. I would definitely write that one down, though. Wow. She wasn't talking to me. Okay. Let's see. And then they got into it, and she said the white woman went and sat down and said, I don't even know why she talked to me. I don't like fake niggers. And I don't like fake niggers. I don't even play like that. Don't come in here talking to me. All that now. Just when he started saying all that, I was thinking, now really? Wow. If this was a black person, I would be saying I would not recommend talking like that in the workplace at all. Like, that sounds so unprofessional. Really, you sound like a high schooler or something, a child. Like, who cares? Like, what are you even talking about? Fake people? Like, what are you talking about? What's a fake person? If they got mannequins around here? Or I thought we were at the court. What are you talking about? And as he said, gossiping. That is in the 10 stops, man. It's a reason. We've been saying it at the end of the program for a minute. A reason, in fact, even that, out of all the things Fuller could have put in the 10 stops, gossiping, the undisputed champions of gossiping, racist man, racist woman, racist child. I mean, you could just go on your job and look. They gossip about other white people all day long. And because, no, I don't like no fake people. And why she talking? You could have went and said that to her directly. Look here, Lakeisha. Don't come talking to me. You fake and bogus and lame. Don't talk to me. Deuces. And we'd have been done. Now we ain't got to sit there and go through all that. Like, what? And then for other people to be listening in on it, that's what I said. I said the same thing about Lakeisha. I know she faking. Like, what? Why are y'all sitting around talking about bad about an employee? Incidentally, that's the same thing I said before. But he didn't say he participated. None of that. That's, They try and rope me into it. Don't you think Lakeisha is lame? Whoa. Does Lakeisha need help? I'd probably skip over that one completely. Does Lakeisha need any help? I mean, lame, what is it a problem? Is something wrong with Lakeisha? And just see what they say. Like, is it a problem? Is something wrong with her? Yes, there's something wrong with her. She's lame. Oh. Does she need help if she's lame? Is there anything we can do to help Lakeisha? Oh, God, here he goes. Okay, I'm gonna leave y'all to it then. You have a blessed day and go on about my business. But see, that is widespread. And what I just said, a lot of times you'll have people, they would just join right in on that and start bashing Lakeisha or you, whoever they happen to be talking about for the time being. None of that. We all supposed to be working together. Y'all say we're a family. Nobody has any ideas about how to help. Like, we got all these shiftless, no-count white people who don't want to work. We figure out a way to sympathize and help them. Why can't we do that for this black female that you say is so fake? Probably some of that because they got they made her the shift lead or whatever they call it. Same thing I said before. Now you see a black person, they start acting like they got some sense. They come to work on time. They're not using slang. They're not rapping Kendrick Lamar all day long or Rick Ross since we're down in Florida. They don't do none of that. They come being more professional than the chaos coordinator, to be truthful. I'm repulsed. I hate it. Now she promoted. What does it mean that I'm so mad I got to sit out here and gossip about her at work? Can't even wait till I get home and do my texting and get the click members and browse. Nah, I got to talk about it now. What does it mean to be white? And you probably, I'd said this before because it seemed like it's a few more black people creeping into the courthouse. It's probably going to be more of this. The silver tsunami, as you have white people retiring and you just have race soldiers mad. I don't even want to walk by the segregated section. Drinking all the water. And then she said, if they keep it up, I'm going to let the whole cat out of the bag. Whoa. And see, that's what I mean. See, white people are not ignorant. I would write that down and, let the cat out the bag. We don't want the cat to be, gone, let the cat out the bag. What is it? Like, go ahead and let it out. That right there also, you got some unjust networking, because how is it that you know whatever this information is, cat in the bag, and the rest of us don't know nothing about this? And you even sound like threatening. Ooh-wee. I'm going to tell it. You keep messing, and it seemed like the messing around is the messing around that a black person got hired and or promoted to lead worker? Is that the messing? Like, if y'all, you keep, okay, you keep bring in another nigger if you want to. Is that what it is? I didn't even understand what they were doing that was wrong. Like, what is you got all these fake people that I don't like that happen to be black? You got more lead black. Is that what it is that's upsetting you so much? Eesh. And I agree as well. When he said that, she said, now when all this, I got to gossip and talk about other people and racism in there. No talking about things unless it's got something to do with the job. Amen, my sick white sister. I'm with you 1,000%, which is why this conversation sounds even more curious. If that's what it really is, man, be a white woman. You know how to solve problems, man. You don't sit around in here and just gossip. You can go talk to a white person in charge and get this fixed right now. Is this fake, whatever that means, black? Is she unqualified for this position? Is she stealing out of the petty cash drawer? Like, what is it? We can get this fixed right now. Why are you just sitting around here content to... No, let's get to it. What's she doing wrong? We can get her fired right now, right? Come on. Come on. And then the tackiness. It's just tacky and tacky and tacky and tacky and tacky. And then with the metaphors, too, he said, now, she just complained, and just the worst, if you hung her with a new rope, she would still complain. Now, white man apparently did what I would do. What? What are you, who, what? What are you talking about? And for her to get an attitude that you just don't get. No, white sister, I don't. That's why I asked. What are you talking about? You sound insane. You, who, what, hang it. What? 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 What are you, HR, where's the chaos coordinator? She is talking about hanging with, what in the Claude Neal? Come on. Come on. Then that's another one. Now, Al Sharpton had said such a thing. Really? Everybody's, wow, Al, you so passionate. Wow. That's amazing, Al. What a metaphor. And we just go about, really? Write that one down. And the same thing, grousing and complaint. Dare I say gossiping again? Is there a problem? Is this person doing something wrong? Do we need to, maybe we made a bad hire? Or you just, and using racist metaphors to sit around here and gossip about somebody? What does it mean to be white? And couldn't even explain. He didn't say that the white dude said, oh my God, you sound like a racist. Why would you say such a thing? He didn't say that. He just said, what? What did you say? What does that mean? And you don't get it. He doesn't even get sick. Idiot. Okay. Write that down. Like, okay. And the expectation as a white man, I'm supposed to understand your lynching metaphors. That's what I call that, right? Lynching. I'm already supposed to understand this. Wow. Wow. Anyway, and then we get the tacky email at the end, the chaos coordinator, even though she doesn't have that title, Department of No, and all the rest of it. At least for me, that is HR. These are the people that you are supposed to go and talk. Really, a lot of the stuff that we just heard, she would complain if you hung her with a new rope. Ma'am, HR, is that something we should be saying in the workplace? That's the person that, you should be going to, that's the chaos coordinator. Really, if she was on her job, what did you say? This Department of No? That's what I would expect. Is this acceptable for the? No. This is the courthouse, man. We got children coming to be, but they just wasted all that time. He told us about it for 2 weeks. It wasn't no 5-minute thing. They wasted all that time talking about, man, when people come in, they're going to do the passport. We want to be professional, on our best behavior. You don't want to make assumptions. Being some sort of, brute, and someone comes in and you just assume it's a male or assume it's a female. Or if they've got a young person, you don't want to assume it's their child. You want to think beyond that so you're not insulting and all the rest of it. And then turn around with all this? Come on. Like, why do we have to waste all that time? You don't really care about no lesbians or transgender folks and all that. Chaos coordinator, that's what you said. Come on. That all that Fuller said, it does not get any better than tacky. It sounds like that whole email from the HR department, no less. Tacky. Extra tacky. That's the sort of thing I would be mindful of. If it's seeming like the HR, the people that are supposed to be serious, that are supposed to enforce the rules and violations, make sure people are behaving in a professional and safe manner in the workplace, and they seem kind of, whatever. But wow, I remember he said it was a black female. I think she worked in accounting. Make sure we all get paid. She ended up closing her door. Don't come in. If you got anything to say that does not deal with paychecks and accounting, do not open my door. That's what I would expect in an environment with, hey, It's whatever. Panic button today, whatever. Just do whatever you feel like it. And chaos is at the HR department. That's what we got, and that's what you can expect through and through. Chaos, racism, tackiness. That's what we got. Man, and at the courthouse, no less. At the courthouse. Embarrassing through and through. Any hoodles. Much obliged. Our call. He said some other people even pointed out the words. He said it was a young black fellow who, he said, "You see that black brother? She got Department of No." Is that what it's supposed to be called? Like what? Come on. And then put that on something like professional. Much obliged. We'll drink more water, sir. Congratulations. That should not be lost in all the tackiness. Bravo, especially as heading towards springtime, like we get ready to set the clocks forward, warmer weather, especially down there in Florida, warmer weather. Bravo. Might get some folks to lose some weight, help them do a better job dealing with hypertension. Just drinking more water improves so much in terms of health, because you have so many people who do not drink enough water. So bravo, keep it up. Said they got that's something to show off about. Drank me a half gallon of water today, man. You don't even know nothing. You ain't even drink 2 cups of water, man. Let's see. Person who dialed in, non-Clemson grad, double O dimples, Mama C should be with us as well. If you had commentary or suggestions.
Good evening, Gus and Cal's listeners. Yes, finally able to call in on a Thursday. I like the switch of the workplace racism to Thursday and the book study on Friday, so yes. Okay, I have a few stories. First one, non-Clemson grad wanted me to share that his family and friends, they've been encouraging him for a number of years to, pursue and actively apply for federal job positions, and now things have shifted where a lot of people are questioning whether or not they're going to have a job tomorrow. So now his friends and family are very upset with the current administration and everything that's happening, but unfortunately non-Clemson grad still loses because all of this is probably all his fault. Okay. Now I have a couple stories. I'll keep them short. Some of them are personal with the business, and then some are just workplace racism stories for Goose Creek, South Carolina Police Department. So it's Black History Month 2025, and the police department was trying to highlight Black officers and staff members within the Goose Creek community. And they went to social media and they made, a number of posts for Black History Month. And they received so much backlash from the community on social media that they ended up removing all of the posts. The staff members and police officers were very upset with the number of comments that expressed negative, racist, or a lot of hate. And I've seen this as well, a lot of posts that news people will share, newscasters will share, highlighting, let's say, a Black farmer or something. It will receive a lot of negativity, racism doesn't exist. You guys are falling into the plot of people who want to continue all of this racist division among us. It doesn't exist. Why do we even have to celebrate people or recognize, Black officers, Black farmers? Why can't they just be whatever position they are? So it's very interesting to see how, white people are, becoming more vocal about their anger towards inclusion, diversity, equity, and pursuits to, highlight the achievements of qualified candidates. That was also shared in the social media post. Goose Creek, after all of that backlash, they had to release a announcement on their social media page explaining why they chose to remove all the social media posts. And it's just very interesting because it's very close to where we are, but South Carolina does it best. Second story, Double Dimples, she's 2 now, and she loves her books, and many of these books, you know, we receive some of the books from family and friends. Some of them we pick up from the library. There's only a few books that we have gone out of our way to purchase, and some of them we purchase from like black authors or black bookstores, and we allow her to choose them. So when one of non-Clemson grad students comes, she's an older lady, and she takes lessons at least once a week, but for some reason, her lessons are an hour and a half, and her husband comes in about 30 minutes before they're over, and he just sits. And sometimes I talk to him, sometimes I don't. But the baby will bring him books to read, and she'll do like 2 or 3 books at a time. And sometimes many of these books, they have topics about growing up black affirmations, talking about black hair, like don't touch my hair. And they have black characters or non-white characters, you know, or animals and stuff. So I just find it very interesting that he has to start from the front the front cover of the book to the back of the book, and just read all the words, every single word that the author meant to express to, you know, non-white black children. And he's a white man, and I laugh at it when it does happen. But I have to watch out for him and the baby. I don't know, he gives me strange vibes. You know, just commenting on like how she'll be a very attractive, you know, young lady when she gets older, and all the boys will chase after her. So yeah, it's just weird. Okay. Number 3, non-Clemson grad, he has a saying for white women. They are lying, donkey, white, biatches. But anyway, so in our business, I do a really good job with record keeping. When people, they do an offense to our business, I have a folder called Bad Client folder, and I just throw like no call, no shows in there, last minute cancellations, like people who constantly reschedule, or they call off at the last minute for a number of reasons. So I just file all this stuff, and I keep tabs on people, and sometimes people circle back around. So I'll tell you about a client real quick. They booked January 2023, and right before their lesson, you know, I followed up with them, and I said, you know, this is just a reminder of your lesson. Did a little bit more personal versus like an automated message that would come to them. And I was like, hey, you know, have your lesson tomorrow, boom, boom, boom. And the husband, he booked the lesson first. And I think the day before the lesson actually happened, she canceled, the wife, now wife, canceled. And she made a note. She was like, I think we're going to get too busy to take dance lessons, but we'll look at the website and book something in the future. We like what you offer. And I was like, okay, that's fine. They didn't fall in the bad client folder simply because they were outside of the 24-hour window. It was fine. You know, they canceled. Okay. Still keeping the $10. Anyway, so 2 years later, the now wife, she books 2 group classes, which is fine, but she called first. I talked to her. I didn't know who she was. You know, I'm just talking to her like I'm talking to any person who's inquiring about dance classes, group classes, all that stuff. I explained to her like there are places where we could refer her in the community to go dancing, you know, all of this. So she follows up. She books those two group classes in January and February of 2025, 2 years later. And then when I tell her, hey, I can follow up with some places around town that you can go and dance depending on the style of dance that you're looking for, she shares the email, and then boom, I put everything together in my mind. I was like, I recognize that email, go look it up, and ta-da, I realized. So when they finally come in, I just keep the information to myself. We introduce ourselves, we're talking to them, and then we always like to ask, if anybody has dance experience or experience with music, like understanding rhythm, how to count music, or fitness, like having spatial awareness, just so we get a good feeling of where people are or how comfortable they are about, dancing before they actually start. And so she shares that, oh, yeah, we had dance lessons for our wedding. And I just say, oh, was it a positive experience? She was like, oh, yeah, it was great. So I go to say that these people don't fall in the bad client folder initially, but now they're the bad client because why do you need to lie? Why do you need to lie? It's okay if you don't want to come, take lessons with us, but why feel the need to lie? Okay. Recently I had a white man, he called, he wanted to book outside of the regular business hours, so he was booking like an 11 a.m. appointment, which in my past experience with doing this, anybody who books outside of regular business hours, it always goes bad. Okay, so this man books. I let him know that's a home-based dance studio, and he's like, oh yeah, and I tell him it's going to take you about 30 minutes to get here. And so I kid you not, 30 minutes before the lesson on Wednesday, he calls. I can hear that he's in the car. I can hear he's in the car. And he's like, hey, is this such and such business name? I was like, yes, it is. And he was like, oh, I have a lesson at 11 and I need to cancel. And I'm just like, I'm not even going to ask why. I don't really care. I don't really want to teach this lesson. But, man, why do people feel the need to lie? I mean, I didn't even want to ask him why. So I guess I'm trying to figure out what's going on in our neighborhood that people feel like they don't want to go to the bad part of town. Okay, but that's okay with me. Okay, last story. So this follows up with what I just said. Why don't people want to come to the bad part of town to take dance lessons with the Negroes? So I have a male student. He's by himself, and he's learning to dance some swing. So he takes lessons pretty regularly. But what I noticed is he always checks to make sure his car doors are locked. I think he drives like a what is that, Land Rover?
I think so.
Yeah, a Land Rover, and I just laugh because his Land Rover probably costs more than our house. Okay, so I have a story. It reminds me very much of the book study with the Devontae Hart family story, where the children were adopted and the two white women poisoned and murdered the children as well as themselves. So this story is about white altruism and having full access to non-white Black children. So this man that I teach, he's in his mid-30s, and he somehow has crossed paths with two young Black girls. They're both sisters, and he believes that God sent him to them, or God sent them to him. Well, anyways, this man, I guess the community, whoever community he's a part of, was very skeptical of his presence at first with these two black girls, but now it seems like he has full access to them, like whenever he wants. Like he could pick them up for Valentine's Day and brought them to a dance lesson, which I gladly taught them, introduced them to partnership dance, a dinner event with his family and friends, outings, like talking about skating or church service every single week. It's very interesting. I just pick up some of the comments that he shares with me. Like, he says things like he realized that there's a big difference in how, how he grew up and how these young girls have grown up. And he has surrounded himself with female mentors or Black females who are mentoring him and I guess maybe keeping tabs on what's going on. His church has gone out of their way to close the girls. And to me, it's very perplexing to me to try to get more information. I know that there's a sad story for each of the girls, and I'm not going to share that as to not divulge or to protect their identities or whatever. I'm probably sharing way too much already, but this is very concerning. It just seems like, as non-white Black people, we procreate, have these children, whether they were wanted or not. And then white people, as long as they show some sort of like investment or altruism, that they can have full access to our children. Like, we'll just let our children go with them and do whatever. And no matter what, we don't question the intentions of this person. We don't like try to figure out if this person should even be around the children. It's just like, oh, well, whatever he is offering has to be so much better than where they came from. And with that, I will end my share.
Well, that is lame. We didn't hear from Bay Area Mom, but it seems like for Neutralizing Workplace Racism, we always get a really intense reminder. When you play around with sex, the joke is on the offspring. Well, that last portion, I'm not really sure. That is, wow. Just wow. How many Black, and even that, like Bay Area Mom and other folks, how many Black people, I think Irie in Louisiana, how many times do we hear different Black people, like because of their job, they work with throwaway Black children, so they get to see the result. Play around with sex. The result. Matter of fact, even to come back to that, now she started with the Goose Creek Police Department and doing Black History Month. That name was immediately familiar to me because the book club, before we got to Devontae Hart, We Were Once a Family, we read about Columbine. During that study, the great 60 Minutes, I think President Trump got a lawsuit against them too. 60 Minutes, while they still existed, about close to 25 years ago, right after Columbine, they did a report on Goose Creek, South Carolina, and it was specifically about the police department. They went to the high school, which I think might have been Goose Creek High School, but they went to the high school at before 7 a.m. It was like 6:45 and did a raid. You see all of these Black thrown away children thrown on the ground. Get on the ground, Leroy. Get on the ground. Do you got any drugs? Do you smuggle? You know you do drugs. Where's the crack, Leroy? Where's the crack? And they're like 14 years old. Be like 00 Dimples in 12 years. But they got them all on the ground, face down, and they got canines that are larger than the children, and they go around and say, give me the drugs. We know we got a drug cartel here. Give me the drugs. They don't recover any drugs. Terrorized all these children, no drugs. Black, they look like lots and lots of Black children in Goose Creek. And they got to the end of this, and they said, now, we got to do this. you know, Columbine. Can't have that down here in Goose Creek now. Anyway, they had a lawsuit about that. I'm sure that's in the newspaper. It was on 60 Minutes. Got to be in the newspaper. Anyway, that was my immediate recollection. So now we fast forward to all the progress. Now, man, I bet if the police department, if they had posted a picture of that, as opposed to trying to be all DEI fresh and just shown the white dogs and the canines on top of them black children, it would have been a totally better response. And they could have done the same thing. This is Black History, South Carolina Black History, 20 years ago, right there. Y'all need to do more of that. That's what I'm talking about. We get handled on some of the crime down here in South Carolina. Maybe try that next. That's my PR suggestion. Next time around, just put the photos up from the raid at Goose Creek. I think that was like 2002, I'm gonna say. Just put the photos up from that, and you'll win the public opinion. Let's see. She said the white fella came to the house and they have young scholar valedictorian in training. 00 Dimples goes, grabs her books. It is reading time. The white man, race soldier suspect, will read all of this incredible literature, stockpiling a great library for young black readers. Just got to read. Like, wow, I wonder what's going through his brain computer. Like, what in the world? Don't touch my hair? What? These Negroes. Let's see. I think that is brilliant. All of the folks, entrepreneurs, having a bad client folder where these are folks, most establishments, you can refuse service, right? So, hey, I'm going to keep a record. These are folks who have been a problem already. That, no thanks. I'm sure there are other places where you can learn how to groove. No thinking. It could be for a variety of reasons. Even you can land in the bad client folder for lying. I think that is a great one. Once you're, untrustworthy. And she even said the white woman lying about just having taken classes before. That's, why do you have to lie about that? That's so, nothing. Why is that even relevant? Why would you have to lie about that? Bad client folder. And she had told us before about all of these white people having trepidation. So they say. Now, they can say that. I'm scared. These niggers will mess over my Land Rover. Because they've said that a bunch. I think her husband, non-Clemson dad, has said the same thing. Like, what? Y'all live where? What's the zip code? Like, that's one thing. Like, now, we didn't hear that from Dylan Storm Roof. You want to talk about South Carolina history. We don't have to go as far back as Ben Tillman. He didn't seem to have no trepidation about hanging out around black people because they said he had done recon for months, right? That's what they said. And then went and sat right next to Reverend Clementa Pinckney. He wasn't, oh man, ooh, black people gonna get me, ooh. That's not what he said at all. And real talk, J. Strom Thurmond, child rapist, South Carolina legend. He didn't seem to have no trepidation about being around black people either. If you're raping a black child, it can't be that much fear. So when did all these white people, all of us, ooh, black people gonna get us, ooh, they're gonna loot my car, ooh, my Land Rover is worth more than everything in the house, ooh, get out of here, man. Probably looted that too. He looted the Land Rover. Like, get out of here, man. Gotta go check every 5 minutes. You know your cousins and Leroy, you probably got your friends out to steal my hubcap. Like, come on. If anything, I'm concerned about you, white fella, being in my house, that is the concern I have raised before about, I don't even want these folks in my house. Like, she said, ew, why are you touching my daughter in. What is up with you, man? Talking about she going to be attractive. Man, we keep... That, I think, is the greater concern, not black people going to loot your Land Rover. Like, come on. Come on. And the time and energy. Wasting time and energy. She said she told the white fella on the phone when he made the appointment, and from where you are, it's going to take like, half hour to get here, what have you, so you can plan accordingly, especially if it's going to be early beyond our normal business hours. Wait till the morning of. I'm supposed to be pulling up in your driveway and scared to death niggers are going to come rape me. Nah, I'm calling to cancel. Forget your, 24-hour policy, let you know in advance so you can reschedule or be doing that. Hey, we're parents. We could be doing something with our child, going to get new literature, learning another language or anything. We wasting time on you. Love, she's, I'm not even wasting time. And, what happened? And, oh my God, bad client folder. That's another one I recommend too, like pattern recognition, because Dr. Welsing talked about where she already know, like, we bend over backwards to serve a client, offer them a service outside normal business hours, and almost every time it ends in disaster. Maybe we won't do that in the future. Pattern recognition. And the black people, yes, he didn't want to be. I wrote down as well where she said with not double O dimples, with non-Clemson dad, where she had said that numerous family members, before they accused him of trafficking in fake news when he tried to say that there might be election violence, if Trump isn't successful, or who knows, what could have went down in November. It's fake news, get on out of that. He said apparently they had been trying to encourage him, stop peddling fake news and get you a government job, man. That'll be the best way to go, and federal employee, and you'll be stable and make good money and all that, which, does not sound crazy, right? That's not the goofiest thing in the world to a degree, but hey, system of white supremacy, really, there's no such thing as stable employment if you are non-white. Now, all those white people, as we said, that, claim they lost their job, rose at the beginning of white people don't get fired. They get transferred. Even the incompetent white people, we heard lots of them today and every week, even they don't get fired. They get transferred. So, as a non-white person, really, you can't allow yourself that luxury to be thinking that, because I have a government job or any type of job, I'm stable. I'm sick. No, man. You could be fired, terminated in the next 5 minutes. Easily. Any of us. Next 5 minutes. So, hey, I guess bravo, non-Clemson dad, knew the better way to go, even though it's still, you 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other. We are still in the system of white supremacy racism, so there is never really much to celebrate. Which was where we ended. Wow. Absolutely nothing to celebrate with throwaway black children. And that's why I really don't even, man, what to even say in that capacity. He's got black mentors. Who am I to step in and say, hey, what's going on here? And you've done something to these children, and someone should investigate it so he can bring out his phalanx of black mentors. What are you talking about? He is out here doing more than you have. When did you offer to take them out to go ice skating or any other programs? Like, what are you doing? And all the rest. I'm like, sorry I said anything. I'll be quiet. Man, when you play around with sex, your offspring could end up with a random white man at dance lessons. Woo, I don't even know what to say. Wow. Wow. Just wow. if anything, that have lots and lots of discussions before you get to the bedroom. That is horrible. Like, not, I mean, I feel like I could have heard it myself. That's how we got to Devontae Hart, man. Whatever that white man is offering, it's better than what we got. I'm saying that collectively, we. Whatever that white man has to offer, it's better than what we got to give. Thank you, white man. That's gone on for generations. That has gone on for generations. Woo, that is an ugly way to conclude that's Black history. Really, you want to talk about Black history? Devontae Hart, right there. And Minister Malcolm X. That is in the autobiography, parceled out like sacks of corn. That's in the book, and it's in the film. I mentioned that when we read Devontae Hart. I think I even played that part from the autobiography. That is Minister Malcolm X, assassinated February 21, tomorrow. Things could have ended badly way before we got to any of that, just with the foster care component alone, if he had ended up in the wrong white man's hands, or white woman. Throw away children. Man, see, that always comes up in Neutralizing Workplace Racism. So many black people work jobs with the throwaway children are here. With a white man, or a white woman, or no one. Whew, man, I do not even have a recommendation there, because I don't know in that capacity if you could say anything without, getting into who are you to say anything in that capacity, right? If anybody, has any suggestions on that, what to say, what not to say, I don't even. Whew, man, that is a sad day on the plantation, and why we should be motivated to solve this problem immediately. But yeah, I don't even think it's anything that could be. If anybody does know, like you could say this, or could report, or something to try to look out for these children's well-being, please share. But I don't know what that would be. Like, man, that is, whew, man. Much obliged for sharing. I'm not sure why non-Clemson grad is to blame. She said about the employment situation, regardless of how it all plays out, is all his fault. Like, I know he is a privileged black male, and we are generally the ruin of everything. But dang, even the federal employment job situation, that's his fault. Like, dang, they do hang a lot of blame on old dark black males. They will hang lots of blame, man. Any hoodles, let's see. Make sure we did not miss anybody last few months before we wrap up. Again, we'll be here on Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, for the Katherine Massey Book Club. New book, Dr. Maya Angelou, third selection for the book club, Unprecedented, A Song Flung Up to Heaven. She has a 7-book autobiography series. We read I Know Why a Caged Bird Sings. That is book number 1. We just completed The Heart of a Woman, which is book number 4. And A Song Flung Up to Heaven is book number 6. This book starts immediately with the assassination of Malcolm X. That's what will begin tomorrow, February 21. Cannot wait. Second time in our history with the book club that on February 21 we will be reading a book about Minister Malcolm X. Done our diligence, keeping his memory alive. I am looking forward because this is kind of a recent book. This book was published, I think, the same time as the police assault at Goose Creek High School, 2002. This is kind of a recent book in the scheme of things. Like The Heart of a Woman was published in 1981. So this book is published 20 years later. Kind of doing. I had never heard of it. Like, to be published this century, only a few years before the cows came into existence. I had never heard of this book. I don't think I've ever seen this book. Same question I asked last time around. Any of you, have you ever seen this book? A Song Flung Up to Heaven, prior to us getting to it? Have you seen this book before? Have you read this book before? Owned this book? You've seen it? You all maybe had it on your shelf growing up? You remember like, oh yeah, we had that book at home. I didn't read it, but just, mom had it on the shelf. I remember, that was one of the ones she's really proud of. All that. Is that the case? Because I have never seen, if you had given me like 20 guesses, I would have never guessed this book. Like, which book did Maya Angelou write that talks about the assassination of Malcolm X? Like, you could have given me 50 guesses, and I would have never come to, oh yeah, A Song Flung Up to Heaven. Any hoodles. Let's see. Everybody good? Did we miss anybody? Looks like we might have nabbed all the folks. If you have additional suggestions, certainly for the therapy component, how you deal with being abused in the workplace where it starts to take a mental health toll, let us know. You can write down notes for sure. Or if you figured out you got these shiftless white people who don't want to do any work, so they want to so-called offload, get you to do everything that they're not going to do, and pretend I just don't know how to do this part. That sort of thing. If you figured out a code to minimize, neutralize that sort of behavior, like hire competent white people and or train them correctly, because I'm not going to take on the duties of another white person who has a whole paycheck to do their own job. If you got tips on that one, we are in desperate need of suggestions. Let us know. And certainly it's 3, so that'd be 3. And then the DEI, because that's probably going to be for the duration of Trump's term in office. So we might be talking about this for 4 years. If you have been impacted by that in terms of, are they going to take our job? That sort of thing. Or are we not going to be able to do this? Have to change how we work, or whatever the case may be. Let us know, because I could easily see how lots of black people all across the U.S., man, in chaos and confusion, maybe for 4 years, about whether or not you have a job. Will I continue to have a job? Who knows? That is exactly what white people want. Keep black people in confusion, where they are not confused. That what caller at the courthouse, what he said, that white woman, she said, don't let me let the whole cat out of the bag. Not confused. In fact, I am more informed than these non-white people about what's going on. Keeping secrets, no less. We will be here mañana. Much obliged for folks tuning in. You can let me know. Hopefully it didn't cause too much confusion. We didn't contribute to any with switching up the dates, but hopefully be like, oh yes, that's the way it was before, and will be a smooth transition. Very excited for the book club tomorrow. Compensatory call-in on Saturday as usual. Again, all the same time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Sobriety would be best under conditions of white supremacy. Drink more water. Do a lot of talking, some of us at least, about Minister Malcolm X. He certainly was not out here cracking a Budweiser and a beer and all that after he got rid of Detroit Red and was focused on replacing white supremacy with justice. He was about drinking water. Save that brain computer. Creator, help me to maximize my time and energy to replace white supremacy with justice as soon as possible. Help me to stop wasting non-white people's time and energy, including my own. Minimize contact. Minimize conflict. Stop name-calling black people. Stop being discourteous to black people. Stop gossiping. Heard lots of that today. Stop producing throwaway offspring. Heard lots of that today. Replace white supremacy with justice immediately. Cal signing out. Thanks all for tuning in.
Nigga, you so brainwashed. I'm a victim, brother. No problem. victim.
I'm a victim of 400 years of conditioning.
Shut up.
The man has programmed my conditioning. Even my conditioning has been conditioned.